Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
The Lazy Oaf Lounge is Madison's East Side place for friends and family. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, you know you're in for a tasty treat. Awesome apps, burgers, pizza, and the best fish fry in Madison. And join us to cheer on the green and gold with 50-cent wings, beer bucket specials, and free Jell-O shots with every Green Bay touchdown. Plenty of TVs inside or out on the patio. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road, and online at lazyoaflounge.com.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, October 20th. Wisconsin judge reinstates order limiting size of indoor public gatherings. Saying businesses have failed to show they have been harmed by the order, a Wisconsin judge on Monday reinstated the State Department of Health's mandate limiting the size of some indoor public gatherings, including at bars and restaurants, to 25% until November 6th. Cambridge Elementary closed for 2 days due to staff shortage amid COVID-19 pandemic. The school will be closed Monday and Tuesday due to a staff shortage. Classes will be moved to an online-only format starting Wednesday, October 21st until at least November 2nd. Madison to buy site for men's emergency homeless shelter on Far East Side. After a 6-month search, Madison and Dane County are moving to buy a former child daycare center for a desperately needed emergency homeless shelter. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, it is 2 weeks till Election Day Tuesday, man. 14 days in a wake-up.
Ah, this is so exciting. I cannot wait for this to happen. 2 weeks from today, it will be glorious. These next couple of weeks are going to be super interesting.
Dominic, effectively, the ballot box already open here in the state of Wisconsin. Outside of the mail-back absentee voting, we now got people lining up by the city block, and I'm talking about several city blocks. According to our pal, Earl Ingram Jr. this morning, he was in Milwaukee, and he said he didn't have time to vote. Couldn't wait in a line that long. Apparently, he had something very important to do. And Dominic, I want to tell the fair audience here, I am very proud today. Biggest exclusive interview in the history of Devil Radio 92.7. It happened today. It's going to play on these airwaves. And I've got a little Earl envy. It wasn't us, buddy. It was the VP nominee Kamala Harris on her 56th birthday. I hope Earl wished her a happy birthday. So that's big. That's big.
Awesome. And I'm super jealous as well. I'd really like to get Earl's Booker.
He's obviously far better than the Booker around here. Now, I've interviewed Kamala very briefly, but I was, I got my turn in the press gaggle at least once upon a time. Have you ever questioned Senator Harris?
I have not.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Oh, come on, man.
I told you.
We got a hookup now, man. Make it happen, Crudy.
I was trying to help logistically set up this pre-record and talked with the Biden staffer. And I said, hey, what are we out here? Chopped liver?
Come on, man.
Now, Dominic, we're going to have a big show in our own regard. And there is big news in the state of Wisconsin because let me restate that. In-person absentee balloting is open. And the lines are long. At least they were in Milwaukee this morning. So Earl will have to take a second run at it. He had to get back to the house fashionably tardy like you
Come on.
for one of the biggest interviews of the man's life. Now, I know he's done Michelle Obama once upon a time, our pal Earl, but Kamala Harris, that's kind of a big deal, Earl.
I can't wait to listen.
I hope he didn't go to the store for Twinkies or something. Couldn't wait. Had a sweet tooth. So anyways, Dom, that is kind of a big deal, and that's going to play out in the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to have our pal Earl join us, preview that interview, and that's not all, Dom. He's got Donna Brazille. And Brian wants to know, did he send the Biden team the questions?
No, you can't send questions.
To which Earl replied, what questions?
You're right. The advantage of, late prep.
Now, Dominic, I've done a little light prepping today. Hopefully you've got our fine guest at 2:30 in front of you. I don't want to mispronounce. Please say it for the people.
Dr. Abdul El-Syed is coming on the show from Michigan. He's a physician, epidemiologist. He was a progressive activist, actually ran for governor of Michigan in 2018.
Come on, everybody ran for governor in 2018.
So you guys have that in common. And he grew up in Metro Detroit. So, I got a little love for the man already. He's going to join us at 2:30.
At 2:30. And then after 3 o'clock, I'm going to do a live listen in Senator Kamala Harris, a virtual town hall in Milwaukee, or a get out the vote effort. It's early absentee in-person voting day. It's open in the state of Wisconsin. Game on. That's all I have to say, because that's a mouthful. But anyways, Tom, let's start with a topic that's, it's ever present. Let's talk about the pandemic. Need to start here today. There is new statistics out. Lenny Bernstein at the Washington Post reporting the coronavirus pandemic has caused nearly 300,000 more deaths than expected in a typical year. Now, the numbers, last I saw, Dom, we had crested as a nation over 220,000 deaths. And yesterday on the show, I said that we had 15,000 dead in Wisconsin. I misspoke. 1,500 was the number I meant to say. 1,600 more accurate today. And above and beyond that, Fancy Brian, glowering was the word I was looking for. Was it you or was it Luke? I guess it was Luke yesterday.
It was not me.
I got stuck on a word.
It's not. It may have been. I've been hallucinating a lot.
Well, as long as it's on the air. Glowering, a word I searched for mightily on the air yesterday. My descriptor for how Donald Trump reigned over Ron Johnson when he joined him maskless on the stage in Janesville. And I said, I was looking for the word. And I'm like, what is that word? And eventually you just got to keep speaking, right? We do talk radio. So I think I landed on glared at him, but the word I was thinking was.
Did you verify the word? Or you just
I did. I went home.
Okay. All right. All right.
Glowering. Yeah. I would have bastardized it otherwise, but I looked it up. It's in the dictionary. Back to this headline. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make too much fun. These are tragic numbers. The coronavirus pandemic has left about 285,000 more people dead in the United States than would be expected in a typical year. 2/3 of them from COVID-19 itself, and the rest from other causes. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported Tuesday. The CDC said the novel coronavirus, which causes COVID-19, has taken a disproportionate toll on Latinos and Blacks, as previous analysis has noted. But the CDC also found, surprisingly, it has struck the 25 to 44-year-olds very hard. Their excess death rate is up 26.5% over previous years, the largest change for any age group. That's the young people. I thought the COVID didn't affect them. Well, perhaps the lifestyle that they're living during the COVID affecting them. It is not clear, according to this article, whether that spike is caused by the well-recognized shift in COVID-19 deaths towards younger people between May and August, or deaths from other causes, the CDC said. The report comes just 2 weeks left in the presidential campaign, where the central issue is President Trump's handling of the pandemic. Trump has sought at every turn, including in remarks Monday, to minimize the virus's impact. turn the corner, I think he said several times recently, Dom, despite a COVID-19 death toll that is likely to be the third leading cause of mortality in the United States this year behind glowering behind heart
together,
disease
man.
and cancer. The stance has proven to be the president's enduring weakness as the election looms November 3rd. 300,000 more than the normal death cycle at this time in 2020. This has been a god-awful year.
It has, Crudy. I'll jump in here. Of course, Joe Biden has made his plans to tackle the pandemic the major focus of his bid to capture the White House. The number of people dying from this pandemic is higher than we think, said Stephen Wolf, Director Emeritus of the Center on Society and Health at Virginia Commonwealth University, who has conducted independent analysis of excess mortality. This study shows it. Others have as well. The data cover the period February 1st to September 16th, meaning that excess deaths have almost certainly reached 300,000. Wolf said they are likely to hit 400,000 by the end of this year. The numbers were assembled by the National Center for Health Statistics, a unit of the CDC. Now, this is coming out from Trump's CDC. So I would surmise that perhaps it's even higher than that. Outside analysis, including some by the Washington Post and researchers at Yale University, have found two main causes for the excess deaths. Many probably were the result of COVID-19, although they were not recorded that way on death certificates. Others are probably the result of deaths at home or in nursing homes from heart attacks, diabetes, strokes, and Alzheimer's disease among people afraid to seek care in hospitals or unable to get it. So although perhaps not directly associated with the COVID, substantially impacted by it, if they're scared, they're not going in. We've heard about this. All the other things that go wrong with people, well, they're not getting those addressed. And that does contribute, according to this, to the excess deaths. Overall, the CDC found that excess deaths have occurred every week since March 2020, with a peak during the week of April 11th and another during the week ending August 8th. Those dates roughly coincide with the virus's surge into the New York metro area near the start of the outbreak and a second major rise across the Sun Belt when many states reopened too soon in an effort to revive flagging economies. The United States is in the midst of another sharp increase in coronavirus infections, this one centered in the upper Midwest and Plain states. See Wisconsin, folks. The 7-day rolling averages of cases, considered to be the most accurate barometer, is near 60,000 per day. At least 219,000 people have died of COVID-19 so far, according to data kept by the Washington Post. All told, Crudy, an estimated 285,404 more people died than would be expected in a typical year, Trump's CDC reported.
So Donald Trump is talking about Hunter Biden, right? That's the most important issue right now.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting headline. Not going to linger on this one. Here's what Frank Luntz, a Republican pollster, said. I've never seen a campaign more miscalibrated than the Trump campaign. Frankly, his staff ought to be brought up on charges of political malpractice. It is the worst campaign I've seen, and I've been watching them since 1980. They're on the wrong issues. They're on the wrong message. They've got their heads up their asses. Your damn job as a candidate is to talk about things that are relevant to the people you need to reach. And if you can't do your damn job, then get out. The Trump campaign running ads about Hunter Biden. Here's what Luntz says. We have to get, a little bit farther. Here's what he said. Nobody cares about Hunter Biden. Why is Trump spending all his time on him? Hunter Biden does not put food on the table. Hunter Biden does not help anyone get a job. Hunter Biden does not provide health care or COVID or solve COVID. And Donald Trump spends all of his time focused on that. And nobody cares. Come back, more devil's advocates. I hope you care.
This thing's going away. It will go away like things go away.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually, because we're very high.
Like a herd mentality.
So enjoy your life, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your life.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I'm Rocker, and this is my vodka, distilled right here in Madison, made from corn and gluten-free. Try Rocker Vodka at Sal's Dark Horse on Livingston or Sugar River Pizza in Verona. Find Rocker Vodka at Star Liquor, Woodman's, Willie Street Co-op, Vic Pierce, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, Miller & Sons, and more at rockervodka.com.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com. After 4 chaotic years of Donald Trump's presidency, Americans will go to the polls to make their voices heard. Tuesday, November 3rd, special election night coverage. The Devil's Advocates will broadcast live from the heart of Battleground, Wisconsin, beginning at 8 Central Time when the polls close. Dom and crew will host the biggest political party of our lifetimes with updated local races all night, right here on Devil Radio 92.7. Broadcast sponsored by Teamsters Local 200 and the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Dave from Community PC here. Now more than ever, we're relying on our computers to stay connected with family and friends. Looking for that perfect holiday gift for a family member who struggles with keeping everything up to date? Every day, more and more people are discovering the peace of mind that comes from a Tech Protect plan from Community PC. And it makes the perfect gift for anyone you need to stay connected with. Check out commpc.com to learn more. That's commpc.com. Community PC. We know what makes computers happy.
Stay informed with Progressive News and Talk on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Dane County's choice for essential radio.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday,
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates.
Hey, we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, as a political junkie, these are the happy days, man. 2 weeks before the election doesn't get much better than this. And of course, Kamala Harris appearing in an exclusive later on this fine radio station, but not this show. Our pal Earl's got that one. Earl coming up at 4:30. Kamala Harris sound a live listening at a town hall in the 3 o'clock hour. So we'll bring you that. It just won't be exclusive. And Dr. Abdul El-Syed is joining us in about 10 minutes, Dom. So wanted to talk about the next topic briefly. The Democratic Party has landed the Happy Days cast.
Yeah.
You know, sit on it, Potsy. If Potsy were Robin Voss and Scotty Fitzgerald, and of course Donald Trump, sit on it, Republican Party.
Sit on it, Fonzie. Hey!
Hey!
Real quick, Meg Jones at the Journal Sentinel cast members from the Set in Milwaukee classic TV show Happy Days are gathering for a virtual reunion to raise money for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Scheduled for 6 p.m. Sunday, the reunion will feature Henry Winkler, the Fonz, Ron Howard, you know, Richie Cunningham, Don
Richard,
Most.
yeah? Go to the field and sit on it.
Don Most, that's Ralph Mouth, buddy. Anson,
Sit on it, Mal.
Anson Williams, who was Potsy Weber. Don't have Potsy. Marion Ross, Mrs. Cunningham, and writer Lowell Gans. The only name conspicuous by its absence, Dom. Chachi. No,
Where's
Chachi.
Chachi? Oh, that's right. Chachi's a Trumpster, isn't he?
Yeah, Scott Baio's a full Trumpster.
I met him once.
I think we saw him at the RNC once.
He was begging for a job for one of my producer friends who was sitting down while he was standing. It was kind of funny.
Real quick, to watch a reunion, a donation of at least $1 required, funds going to the State Democratic Party. The event will feature fan questions and behind-the-scenes stories from the cast and crew. Did Fonzie really jump a shark? A little bit more. The cast of the sitcom, which ran for 11 seasons from 74 to 84, was set in Milwaukee and is the latest from Hollywood to raise money for the Wisconsin Democratic Party. I'm telling you, Ben Wickler, he's the real star. He's lined them up, Dom. In September, the cast of The Princess Bride and Parks and Recreation gathered for virtual fundraisers. Well, earlier this month, actors and crew of Beep met online for readings of deleted scenes and new material to raise funds, again, for the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Well done, Ben Wickler. I give you 2 thumbs up.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Wickler has been on fire bringing these events to Wisconsin. What a fun way to raise money and raise awareness, and of course, bringing all these old crews back together, all these old television and movie stars. What an endorsement for Wisconsin.
Now, Dominic, I thought I did see something overnight about the Republican stars.
Oh, come on, man. Don't worry about, the Dems. They may have it, but what about the C list of the Republican Party? Fox News has this
the
one,
celebrities supporting Trump.
Celebrity endorsements are in no short supply these days, especially for presidential candidates. Hollywood's known for leaning left, but there are more than a handful of stars, quote unquote, who have spoken out ahead of the 2020 election and thrown their support behind Trump and Pence. Now, here's just a couple off that Fox News list, Crudy. Johnny Rotten, punk rock legend Johnny Rotten, has endorsed Donald Trump. Who else do we have? Trace Atkins, one of Crudy's favorite country music stars, I'm sure. Kirstie Alley of Cheers fame, also getting behind Donald Trump. I'm voting for real Donald Trump because he's not a politician. I voted for him 4 years ago for this reason and shall vote for him again for this reason. He gets things done quickly and he will turn the economy around quickly. There you have it, folks. There you have it. Kirstie Alley. Oh, Stephen Baldwin. What's up with the Baldwin brothers?
We had the other Billy. We had Billy Baldwin on this fine show 4 years ago from the DNC in Philly. The Democratic Baldwin brother.
The good Baldwin brother?
Well, Alec has done a hell of a job, sort of tormenting Trump from Saturday Night Live stage. But then there's Stephen Baldwin.
Oh, Stephen. Don't talk much about family. Pray for everyone every day. Said in my beauty of land of the free, home of the brave, reverence for our freedom, importance of clarity and vote ? Many are called, few are chosen. Gospel is true battle, already won. #Trump 2020. Not clear what almost any of that means, Crudy.
Stephen Baldwin actually endorsed Trump the same day his daughter Haley picked Biden.
Of course, Roseanne Barr also endorsing Trump. Kelsey Grammer. Frazier, come on, man. What are you doing? In terms of policy, I don't have a lot of problems with what he's doing. Kelsey Grammer said of Trump per the Washington Times. He's a bit of a brat, I guess you could say. And that is astounding for people, especially who come from the more liberal side of politics. They're used to being the brats. And so they've just never had anybody come back at them the same way. Well, so Kelsey Grammer Frazier, I'm listening, is comparing Trump to the liberals? What?
Well, Dominic, can't forget about the Duck Dynasty star, Phil Robertson. And then there's John Foyt. He's the Midnight Cowboy. You remember him. Stacey Dash.
You bit my arm.
And, of course, Ted Nugent.
The Motor City Madman.
Well,
that just pushed me over the edge. Sorry, guys. I'm going to Trump. If Nuge is in there, I mean, wow.
Folks, you are listening to the
Don't forget Tekashi 6ix9ine. I mean, for all the millennials out there.
All the snitch lovers? I mean, that guy's a snitch. Snitches get stitches, 6ix9ine. Just saying. Dr. Abdul El-Syed, our fine guest, coming next. A debate on Thursday night. And, of course, an election 2 weeks from today. Open, early, absentee balloting. It's happening right now in Wisconsin. Come back with us. A very big show. These are the happy days, I'm telling you.
Sit on it, Kirk. Sit on it, Marvin. Go to the field and sit on it.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Hey,
Unlike the legislative Republicans, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM are working through the pandemic to keep you informed. Streaming 24/7 at darnwi.com. For voters with a disability, exercising the right to vote can be a difficult task, but during a pandemic, it can be nearly impossible. The Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition encourages you to check your voter registration online and request an absentee ballot for the November general election at myvote.wi.gov. Questions about your registration or requesting an absentee ballot? Call 1-800-DIS-VOTE. That's 1-800-DIS-VOTE or go to disabilityvote.org.
Make your plan to vote today.
This message brought to you in part by the Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition.
Are you a small business owner or professional that would like to be featured in your own weekly Ask the Expert radio segment or show on Devil Radio? Let us help you in your business team with our broadcast professionals to create the right show or segment, setting you apart as the go-to professional and as an expert in your field. All shows and sponsored segments are podcasted. It will be professional broadcast quality. Packages from $395. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-TALK.
Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. In-person voting has started in a battleground state, Wisconsin. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett says lines are long across the city.
Voters can go to early voting and feel confident they will have a safe, healthy voting experience.
The Justice Department is suing Google for antitrust violations, alleging it abused its dominance in online search and advertising to stifle competition and harm consumers. This is New York University law professor Eleanor Fox.
They do have incentives from their very structure to do various things that entrench themselves. So that's why a lot of people will say break them up.
A Wisconsin man charged in the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has been released from jail after posting cash bail. 7 others are also facing charges. I'm Ed Donahue.
Other banks charge fees on savings and checking accounts. Doesn't sound good, does it? Capital One reimagined banking. So it sounds more like this. With Capital One, you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. Get started now at a Capital One location or online. Sound good to you? This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Approval required. Offered by Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens. We make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with a breaking news hit. Voters wait in long lines as early in-person voting begins in Milwaukee and the rest of Wisconsin. Devil Radio's own Earl Ingram spoke with Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris.
I just want to thank everybody for voting early in Milwaukee. Remember to bring your ID. You need to have a photo ID and proof of residence, but that could include your driver's license or your state ID, or bring a utility bill along with a photo ID. But let's show everyone the power of our vote, because when we vote, we win.
Tune in for their entire conversation today on the Earl Ingram Jr. Show at 5 p.m., along with Donna Brazille live at 5:20, right here on Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
%60 of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates. Come on.
I see no changes. Wake up in the morning. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we welcome a guest right now, live via phone. He is Dr. Abdul El-Syed. He's got quite a resume. He is a physician and epidemiologist, a progressive activist, educator, author, speaker. He also holds a doctorate in public health from Oxford University. He was a Rhodes Scholar, just like Amy Coney Barrett, and he has a medical degree from Columbia University. IT's Dr. El-Syed. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be with you all.
I don't think Coney Barrett would pick Tupac as walk-up music, sir. You have much better musical taste.
Well, I appreciate that. I will say that if she did, it would slightly change my perspective on her. But
Slightly.
That's part of the problem.
Sir, wanted to talk about the newest numbers we see from the CDC. Almost 300,000 premature deaths in the United States in 2020. Obviously, we know the pandemic's a big part of that. But what do you attribute this massive loss of life, especially between 25 and 44-year-olds? I don't know if you've seen the reporting at the Washington Post, but the tragic numbers are bigger than just the COVID numbers.
That's right. You have to add all of the displacement in healthcare that people otherwise did not seek because of COVID-19, all of the deaths to tragic causes like suicide and overdose that are driven by the loss of livelihoods and some of the challenges that people have faced because of COVID-19, of course, to the numbers of people who have died because of and directly from COVID-19, to understand the full scope of simply the loss of life because of this pandemic. And then not to mention all of the hardship, all of the challenges, all of the loved ones who are mourning loved ones lost, all of the livelihoods, the jobs lost, and the healthcare insurance lost, and the childcare lost. And you really start to appreciate the true damage and scale of this pandemic and the human suffering that it's caused.
And my biggest contention is that the Trump administration has effectively undermined the public health. They have left us out here for political reasons with bad information, misinformation. It's purposeful, and it's not just happening on a federal level. It gives permission on the state-by-state level for Republicans to try and institute bad policy. It's malfeasance and worse. I want to get your opinion, Doctor.
That's right. Leadership, it turns out, matters. It matters a lot. And it's not just in the public policies that they promote and then execute on. It's also in the soft power that leaders have to shape a public debate and a public conversation. And we've seen a president now since this pandemic has kicked off that has sought at every turn to undermine experts, to dissuade people from following the basic science, to sow discord amongst us in a time when we really do need unity to take on this pandemic. And the consequences are that people think that there are two sides to these stories. There's not two sides to the conversation about masks. There's one side: you should wear a mask, and you should be covering your face. There's not two sides to the question of whether or not we should be socially distancing. That's clear. It's the best way to prevent the spread of a pandemic infectious disease. And yet the president, for his own political purposes, to try and create this almost excuse for his failures on this virus, is trying to cast doubt on these things. And the consequences are that people are doing things that actively put themselves, their loved ones, and their communities in harm's way.
Dr. El-Syed, obviously the president tested COVID-19, and it hasn't seemingly changed him, or perhaps for the worse. Now he's out there claiming immunity. But from the perception of the American public, do you think there is any change in perception now that Trump has been COVID-19 positive, sir?
Yeah, step back. Isn't that so sad, right? I mean, this guy's own folly and his own failure to follow the basic science about how to protect yourself from a very serious contagious infectious disease, when, by the way, he's the most protected person in the entire country. He's got a whole agency dedicated to his protection. The fact that he couldn't protect himself following his own bunk non-science, now he's trying to double down on that while creating, in effect, super spreader events everywhere he goes to try and act like somehow he's beaten the virus, when in fact 220,000 people have directly lost their lives to the virus, and so many more million Americans are suffering. I just think it is a slap in the face to the American people. And honestly, I think most people watching this are looking and saying, what a buffoon, what a heartless failure of a leader to both create the circumstances where millions of his country people suffer, and then think that because he got it, somehow he beat it. And meanwhile, everyone else is still suffering the consequences.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dr. Abdul El-Syed joins us on the phone. Abdul, Donald Trump, during one of his recent COVID rallies, attempting to mock the vice president, telling the audience that, if Biden's elected, he'll listen to the scientists. So I guess my question to you, Doctor, what advice would you give Vice President Joe Biden, and do you think he would follow it?
Look, I've already, weighed in heavily with the vice president and his team on COVID-19 and healthcare. I was really privileged to sit on the Biden-Sanders Unity Task Force. I was appointed by Bernie Sanders, whom I supported in the primary. And I support Joe Biden full-fledged because he will step up and listen to the scientists, right? He recognizes that if you want to beat a pandemic, you've got to listen to medical science to take that on. And he understands the incredible importance of setting a precedent on simply just wearing a mask and directing Americans to do the same. The incredibly critical role that the federal government has to organizing mass testing and contact tracing at scale, the role that it has in terms of setting guidelines around how to open up schools and businesses safely and getting these schools and businesses the means that they need to do that. He understands that healthcare workers suffer every single time there's an uptick of COVID-19 because now they're on the front lines without the PPE that they needed because, again, the federal government's failed to deliver there. And he recognizes that the only way around COVID-19 is through it. It is not a PR issue. It is a true, deep, profound pandemic that has affected every aspect of American life. And the only way that we defeat it is to take it head on, to listen to the scientists, to do as they direct us to do, and to do the work of saving lives. And he's willing, he's battle tested, and he's ready. So, I take a lot of solace in the fact that, Joe Biden, we may in fact have a president finally in Joe Biden who does listen to the scientists, who does listen to Anthony Fauci, who does pay attention to his CDC and try to follow their recommendations. I mean, imagine that.
Imagine that. I hope we can have that happen once again, Abdul. I want to get your sense. My understanding, you ran for governor in 2018, came in second behind Whitmer. And of course, we have this strange terrorist plot to kidnap and perhaps put on quote unquote trial and maybe even execute the governor of the state of Michigan for her efforts to try to keep your fellow Michiganders safe during this pandemic. Trump has gone out, publicly has tweeted, liberate Michigan. And you talk about leadership and you talk about inspiration. What kind of impact do you think that has, Trump's actions on the discourse in this country?
Well, no, he's actively put the governor and her family's safety at risk by doing that. He is, I am a Muslim American. I grew up, I was a junior in high school when 9/11 occurred, and it was a terrible day as so many American lives were lost. But for me and others who prayed like me, our lives changed in other ways as well. For the rest of our existence, we were seen as people who ought to be feared, and our allegiance to our country was questioned. And here you have a president of the United States inciting violence against a democratically elected leader. And even after the plot was discovered, he doubled down on this incitement. And you have to ask yourself, where are we that in these United States of America, that the president of the United States, for political gain and political purposes, is vilifying a sitting governor for doing nothing short of standing up and protecting her citizens? I think the governor has done a fantastic job. I say that as someone who ran a pretty intense campaign against her. But we've got to look inside of our souls this election season, ask who are we and who do we want to be? Because this president does not reflect the best in us. We are not a country that divides in times of challenge. We are a country that has to come together. And trust me, we've got a lot to come together around. It's not just this pandemic, but it's the underlying pandemic of systemic racism that we've seen uprisings against that has lasted in this country for 400 years. And it's a fundamental baseline insecurity that we have to take on. So it's astounding to me. It's sad to see. And we have an opportunity to address it starting today all the way through November 3rd.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got to find guest live via phone. He is Dr. Abdul El-Syed. I'm sorry, sir. I always struggle. Let me ask you, we live here in the state of Wisconsin, and we have some of the highest COVID infection rates in the nation. And the governor of the state of Wisconsin, very similarly to Whitmer, has done his best efforts through safer at home orders, through mask mandates, to try and stem the tide of this COVID. But the Republican legislators and the Republican slanting Wisconsin Supreme Court has seen it in their infinite wisdom to rein in, to check the powers of the governor, even during a pandemic, sir. I don't know how we overcome this in the state of Wisconsin when we've got one party playing politics. But here's my question. Could a federal response, a new presidency, change the trajectory, not just in my state, but across the United States?
Yeah, and I'll say why in two fundamental ways. The first is that so much of the failure of leadership on this pandemic has come from just technical incompetence on behalf of the administration in Washington, D.C. And if we had a competent administration that could lead from the top, our country's public health infrastructure is designed to be led from the top. And so having that kind of leadership, establishing national guidelines, et cetera, sort of preempts these wayward partisan politicians who are trying to make a game out of taking on a pandemic in Wisconsin, in Michigan, and across the country. But the second is also that, leaders matter because they shape the discourse. And Donald Trump has done everything he can to divide. It is his singular political asset, his ability to divide people on basic things. And he has done that in a way that has really inflamed those on the far right of our country. And I believe that under new leadership, right, once you cut the cancer out of our body politic by removing Donald Trump from the White House, that we have an opportunity to heal beyond this, and that a lot of the tension and a lot of the hatred that we've seen spilled in a time when we should have been coming together goes away when you have a president who's trying to bring people together. And by the way, Joe Biden is not going to be the president of the Democrats. He is going to be the president of the United States of America, unlike Donald Trump, who really has been the president, not just of Republicans, but the president of a very extreme sense of far-right Republicans in this country. We need leadership that brings us together, and I believe Joe Biden has the opportunity to do that for us.
Doctor, we've obviously operated through a pandemic, run an election during a pandemic. The Republicans told people, go vote. It's probably safe. Here's my question for you, sir. With the information we now have, do you think it's possible for the state of Wisconsin and obviously the United States to conduct safe in-person voting for my Democratic supportive friends? Can they go out and safely vote on Election Day if that's how they would choose to vote?
Yes, absolutely. I don't want anybody feeling like they can't go vote on Election Day. The key thing is to follow the recommendations we've been saying all along. Number one, wear your mask. Number two, try and stay distant from other people. Number three, wear gloves or make sure you're hand sanitizing or washing your hands before and after you go vote. Number four, bring your own pen so that you don't have to worry about who's touched what pen beforehand. And then number five, if you can consider voting early, you should potentially do that, or voting on off-peak hours if you're concerned about crowding at the polls. But please, 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 one of the most important public health interventions that we have in this tender voting season is your vote, right? And the biggest failure that we've had is that we have not had leadership that's willing to take this pandemic on. We need that. And so please don't let this season go without lifting your voice and changing our country's leadership.
Dr. Abdul El-Syed, thank you so much for joining us here on the Devil's Advocates radio show. I would point out early in-person absentee voting. It's open. Game on in the state of Wisconsin. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more fine guests later in the show, including a live listen-in, a virtual town hall, Kamala Harris in Milwaukee today. Come back, more Devils.
Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is.
You are incredibly safe to go out.
This is Tony with Quality CBD. We are located on Willie Street across from the co-op. At Quality CBD, we are vertically integrated. From soil to oil and seed to sale, we grow, extract, manufacture, and distribute quality CBD oil. We also have contact-free delivery options at qualitycbd.org. Quality CBD. Legal, local, legit.
Chad's Design Build, we value honesty, hard work, accountability, and humility. And we have the same expectations for our elected leaders. We don't ignore problems and we don't blame others when we make a mistake. Right now, we all need to focus on helping each other, restoring health to our community, demanding accountability from our leaders, and showing gratitude to the people who sacrifice for others. On behalf of our entire team at Chad's Design Build, this is Chad Spate.
When it comes to computers, Madison Computer Works has been the leader in computer help, service, and support for more than 35 years. Our friendly techs have the expertise to help you choose the right computer for your needs. We make it easy to get a new computer by moving your data, reinstalling programs, and setting up your printers and email for you. Our competitive pricing and awesome tech support make moving to a new computer painless and affordable. Whether servicing your old computer or buying a new one, we'll help you do it right. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Santita Jackson of the Santita Jackson Show. Every Thursday morning at 7 o'clock, say hello, somebody, and join former Bernie Sanders co-chair, former state senator Nina Turner on the Santita Jackson Show on 92.7 FM.
From Wisconsin Dells to Dousman, WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take today at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, a fine guest. Want to thank him, Dr. Abdul El-Syed, a smart man, a Rhodes Scholar, the real one, not the kind you get from going to Rhodes College like Amy Coney Barrett did. And he also proved to be a good sport. He's got good musical taste. The Tupac, his choice.
And he's from Metro Detroit, man. I love this guy.
A Michigander. And I appreciate the fact that you called him, or at least referenced the Michiganders. Well, Dominic, I am a Badger. I'm a Wisconsinite. And all the political luminaries coming here because it's battleground Wisconsin. Of course, we've got the vice presidential nominee of the Democrats. We've got Kamala Harris. She's in Wisconsin today, at least virtually. And she's going to be exclusively on the Earl Ingram Jr. show after 5 o'clock. Earl will join us at 4:30 to preview. But the big, bright, shining star, the celebrity,
yeah,
Ivanka.
Oh, the family.
I don't profess to be a political savant.
Yeah.
Well, she's in Franklin, Wisconsin today, appearing on behalf of the old man. You know, she calls him Daddy.
Daddy.
Let me read a little.
Terrible.
You know she does. With early in-person absentee voting starting and the November 3rd election just 2 weeks away, Ivanka Trump swooped into Wisconsin Tuesday to laud her father's policies and rally the Republican base. Dominic, I love where she went. Speaking to about 80 supporters at the Polish Center of Wisconsin. She could probably tell you about a Polish sausage or two. She sought to make the case for President Donald Trump's reelection in the state that produced his pathway to the White House 4 years ago. I guess she'd be eating kosher, wouldn't she?
I leave the politics to other people.
No, not really. I guess she doesn't anymore.
From cutting taxes and slashing regulations to the recent Middle East peace talks, she said the Trump administration was putting together a successful first term. When I think successful, I think Trump's first term.
220,000 dead. The economy tanked.
Dominic,
great job, everybody.
Daddy, can I go with you? I said, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
And she defended the Trump administration's policies fighting the coronavirus pandemic. Here's a quote. The Republican Party under President Trump is the party of safe reopening, and we have to reopen, and we have to reopen.
Wow. So she's saying we got to reopen.
Ivanka 2 times. During a conversation with Trump campaign advisor Mercedes Schlapp, Trump fielded questions on a range of topics from her father's second-term priorities to her favorite ice cream. You know she likes Tutti Frutti. No, actually it says chocolate chip cookie dough. It's a bit of a love story, this politics thing she said about her family's entree into the political world. At the end of the day, we do it for the same reason he does it. We love this country. We love the people of this country. As long as they're rich like us.
The United States on America.
We love trying to cash out on this country. Can I just interject for just a moment?
Oh,
I
please do.
I mean, to have your family go out on stump for you to this degree, it's like going to the prom with your mom. That's what you got.
I thought Ivanka went to the prom with her dad.
Daddy, I mean, come on.
I got to tell you, Ted Cruz could not have pulled that off.
Yeah, his daughter apparently doesn't look like she's
Nobody
too much
wants
of
to
a
touch
fan.
him. Not his own family wants to look at him in the face.
I mean, it just goes to show how terrible this administration is when all you got is your family to go out on the stump for you to help you cash out.
Ivanka said her daddy is unafraid and has more conviction than anyone I've ever met.
He will be convicted if we're lucky.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Creeper.
You beat me to that one, Doug. And that he has been able to enact policies to help people. He knows what he has accomplished, and he knows what he is left to do. And that's why he's excited.
What?
I bet he's often excited around the daughter, Dom. She touted the Farmers to Families Food Box Initiative, a United States Department of Ag program to use farm surplus to feed the hungry. Yeah, why are they hungry? Trump said the program embodies her father's approach to the pandemic with common sense, fast action.
Unfortunately, the recipients of the farm program are probably more likely than not the actual farmers who have been devastated under this president.
Theoretically, that's probably the case, Dom. A little bit more here, and then perhaps a phone call or two. There's so much he wants to do, and he's deeply passionate about delivering that. We're really excited for those policies to really take root.
She's about as general as her dad. These things that we've done have been so great.
Oh, Daddy.
Great detail. Great job, everybody. 844-967-2789. Callers lining up. Let's get to them before the top of the hour. Tony Macaroni, you are up. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hey, Tony.
Big Mac here, guys. How you doing?
Good, sir.
Big Mac. Just call me T-Bone.
Hey, man.
Gertie, you had said to me they're not going to be able to swift vote Joe Biden. And I said, wait for the Hunter surprise or something like that, because I knew they would have something up their sleeve. But
the October surprise has been a pumpkin spice nothing burger. I mean, there's no there, Tony Macaroni, Big Mac.
Here's the thing. I want to play Stump the host here. I'm going to ask you, Mike, and Dom, too, if you want to try to answer it. But I've got an answer if you got time. What does he say? What does Biden say Thursday night when Trump is going to ask this question as much as he can? What's the answer? I've got a quick one. What will you have Biden say?
Which question? About the sun?
Yeah, about the sun. What is your, he's going to ask him about, what about all these emails and all this pay for play? What do you have to say about that? No one else wants to ask this question.
Will you shut up, man? I don't know what the proper answer is, but you tell us, Tony. What do you think the right answer is?
I got one. I would say, look, we could be here for weeks talking about this man's scandals, but there's dozens of books already written about that. So
Right.
American people don't want to be here all night talking about these scandals. If they want to, they can go Google it. There's tons of information. Comparing his scandals to something like this, it's negligible. And the American people, we have a pandemic. We have all these things that he has done, and you can list a few of his scandals: denying a pandemic, altering what the CDC says, still denying it. Everything from paying a porn star money. I mean, you go through the list. This is what he's supposed to be practicing right now.
That's absolutely right, Tony. Absolutely. Hey, thanks for the call. That's a great point. And I would also throw out there as well, hey, didn't his GAC committee, Ron Johnson, didn't they do an investigation? Nothing criminal. There's all sorts of investigations into the Bidens, and they have found absolutely zero criminal activity.
The Nashville 90 Minutes, the last big event of the political season, October 22nd. This Thursday, it will broadcast live. I'm doing the post-game wrap-up, and this time, the moderator controls the mics. Come back with us. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates, a live listen-in to Kamala Harris, a virtual Milwaukee town hall, and more of your calls if time permits. 844-967-2789.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
I had to beat off.
The challenges we face today are too big to tackle just as Democrats or just as Republicans. We have to do it as Americans. This virus, this recession, it's hitting working people hardest. And Joe Biden knows that this recovery must be about them, not the super rich.
I'll be laser focused on working families. That's why I've laid out a comprehensive agenda, not just to rebuild our communities, but to make bold investments so we can build back and build back better. We're going to invest in creating millions of good-paying jobs, building roads, bridges, highways, ports, airports.
A mission both parties can agree with, because it's time we come together as Americans.
But while I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment. I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at Talk 92.7 FM.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wants a vote on a coronavirus economic relief bill.
The Democratic leaders have spent months holding out for a long, far-left wish list of non-COVID-related priorities and obstructing any additional aid until they get it.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi set a deadline of today for a deal on a bill that can pass before Election Day. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer in the Senate says McConnell's call for a vote is a stunt.
They can't get anything done. Their caucus is divided. Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans are the major barrier to preventing us from getting a bill. Because even when Mnuchin calls them up, they say they're not going to do anything.
President Trump campaigns later in Erie, Pennsylvania. He and Joe Biden are doing prep work for Thursday's final presidential debate. The government is filing an antitrust lawsuit against Google. Jeff Rosen is Deputy Attorney General.
Google achieved some success in its early years, and no one begrudges that. But as the antitrust complaint filed today explains, it has maintained its monopoly power through exclusionary practices that are harmful to competition.
The lawsuit marks the government's most significant act to protect competition since its groundbreaking case against Microsoft more than 20 years ago. President Trump again took issue with the government's top infectious disease specialist, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
He's a nice guy. The only thing I say is he's a little bit sometimes not a team player, but he is a Democrat, and I think that he's just fine.
The president was on Fox and Friends. This is Utah Republican Senator Mitt Romney.
It's really unfortunate. Dr. Fauci is an esteemed professional who has served our country extraordinarily well. And I think the American people have a great deal of confidence and faith in him.
President Trump is calling on Attorney General William Barr to immediately launch an investigation of Joe Biden and his son Hunter. This is AP News.
Other banks charge fees on savings and checking accounts. Doesn't sound good, does it? Capital One reimagined banking. So it sounds more like this. With Capital One, you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. Get started now at a Capital One location or online. Sound good to you? This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Approval required. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens. We make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
I'm Congressman Mark Pocan. On November 3rd, I'm asking for your vote. A vote for good-paying jobs here in Wisconsin and across the country. A vote in support of small business and a stronger economy in times of COVID-19. On November 3rd, please make a plan to vote safely and help others do the same. I'm Mark Pocan. I'm running for the United States House of Representatives, and I approve this message. Paid for by Mark Pocan for Congress, Sandy Pope, Treasurer.
Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast, just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say. Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
Wisconsin has more new cases of coronavirus than Illinois. We have twice as many new cases as Michigan, Iowa, and Minnesota combined. Yet Scott Fitzgerald refuses to help keep you and your family safe. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660 and tell him this pandemic is real and we need help. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him to do his job and work with the governor. Paid for by Blue Sky Waukesha.
Hey, Solidarity Realty here. It's time for another election. Time for your voice to be heard. By now, you probably have a good idea of which presidential candidate you are voting for, or at least we hope you do. While picking a president is important, we wanted to remind you that down ballot is just as important. Research your local candidates, make sure they know who you are and what you stand for, because our community will only thrive if everyone has a seat at the table.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, October 20th. Wisconsin's COVID-19 death toll reaches 1,600. State reports first numbers after weekend system outage. Wisconsin's coronavirus death toll reached 1,600 people Monday as the state's escalating health crisis continues to rank among the country's worst. As of Monday, a record 1,172 patients are hospitalized, including 302 in intensive care units. COVID-19 hospitalizations have more than tripled in the last month. In-person absentee voting opens Tuesday in Wisconsin. In-person absentee voting begins today across Wisconsin as an alternative method to cast your ballot due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Forecast of cloudy skies today with a good chance of rain this evening. High today of 49 degrees, low of 39 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the 2 weeks till Tuesday. You know, the most important Tuesday of your life, Dominic, November 3rd. You know, although you could go out and early absentee vote, you could do it today. It's open. Game on here in the state of Wisconsin. And we've got our ear on Kamala Harris, the VP nominee of the Democratic Party, doing a virtual rally in Milwaukee. And we're going to listen in. We're going to play it for you, our fair audience, when that starts. But it's not started yet. So also going to the phones in a moment at 844-967-2789. But very first, try to say a lot of things at once today.
Just slow down, man. You'll be all right.
No, I'm excited. These are the happy days. These are the good times. I'm so giddy.
These days are yours and mine, Michael.
You know, when Earl was interviewing Senator Kamala Harris earlier today, I had to leave the studio. I couldn't be here. I was like an expectant father. It was nerve-wracking. And the fact that Earl was nearly late for the appointed time.
Why do you keep saying that? Was he late or was he not late?
Well, he told us 11 and he rolled in at like 11:15.
Either way, it was a valid excuse. He was trying to vote for her.
Right.
So
I
at least that.
tried
All right,
to vote.
So, but he wasn't late though, right? Because they moved their schedule or something like that. So Earl was totally on time. And
He
just
told
because
everyone
you
except
were not
his
informed.
colleagues here that were eagerly anticipating the call of the vice presidential nominee to, record it and do the interview. Hell, man, I thought I was going to have to, come out of the bullpen, Lenny Mattioli style.
Yeah.
The 50-year-old overweight and kind of chubby reliever. I thought I was going to have to step up. Kind of chubby, not real chubby.
Earl's going to be joining us at 4:30 to kind of preview that interview. Look forward to having Earl back on the show.
But Wisconsin, you got to go vote, and you can do so now in person. We've got a little drop here from the lieutenant governor. Mandela Barnes going to play this first in hour 2, if you'd be so kind. Play cut 3, Fancy.
Our turnout operation, specifically in Black and brown communities, like in the city of Milwaukee, will quite literally determine the course of our nation.
The course of our nation, the turnout, it's all on Earl Ingram. If Milwaukee doesn't turn out, if Wisconsin doesn't turn out, 4 more years of Trump. No pressure, Earl. No pressure. I hope he's listening.
Come on.
844-967. Well, I do hope he's listening. We need the
I
listeners.
know. I mean, you can't put it all on Earl, man.
He is the most, well, I'm not going to keep piling on, but I have told Earl, no pressure, Earl, but you are the most important talk radio host in America right now. And then, you and I will.
Oh, okay. I was going to
pass
say,
him
man,
again.
what about the devil's advocates, man?
Then we will once again
all
become
right.
the most
All
important talk radio host, at least in our own egos and minds. 844-967-2789. Betsy, welcome.
Well, thank you, devils.
I can give you like 30 seconds, Betsy. Apparently, Kamala Harris has
Okay.
no, she hasn't started.
They've just started with the speakers, regular speakers.
Okay, so
Okay,
you got a little time. Don't mean to rush you, sister. I'm so giddy. I'm so. You know who I get very engaged
giddy.
by is Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I like her quite a bit.
Yes, I can't wait. This is so big for you guys. Never before have the greatest radio show ever have the vice president candidate of 2020.
And we still don't.
Oh my God.
But Earl did. We didn't get Senator Harris. Earl got Senator Harris. I just got to listen.
That's why. Oh, listen, Earl's part of your team, and he thanks you, Crudy, and I thank you, Crudy, and Dom, because this could not be possible without you. You understand you are chosen, okay?
I am the chosen one.
I thought Trump was the chosen one. I'm so confused. Who the hell's the chosen one around
Does that
here?
make me the Antichrist? It is Devil Radio after all.
You're anti-Walker. Hello. You saved Wisconsin. Don't you forget. I will never forget what you guys have done for our state. And it needs to spread far and wide. We are Wisconsinites. We are Wisconsin nice. And that's the way we got took by Foxconn. And I wanted to say the other word, but I didn't say it.
Thank you, Betsy. Well done.
And you just don't know how important you are. And I have still not got my stimulus check. And I think I deserve it because I've worked hard. And something has broken down with the system. And I think it's time for a change and get good governance. So you guys, anyway, I was going to just tout on Dr. Fauci. I love you, Dr. Fauci, and I trust you completely. And screw you, Donald, whatever your name is. All right, now. And you have
Now,
to
Betsy,
go
I have an
because-
important question of you. Have you in person early voted, sent back an absentee ballot? What is your voting plan, young lady?
Well, I've already voted. I voted on September 21st. The day that we got our ballots, we voted, and I sent them right back and handed them to the clerk. And then I heard from somewhere that I had to have my voter ID copy with the vote. And I had to call my clerk, and she said, no, that's why we have you on record. So that was good news to me. I thought, oh my goodness, they threw my vote out. And that's scary.
Yeah.
You know, it's just wrong. And it's so sad that, you know, all this despicable, just underhanded stuff is happening in our country. The mailboxes, those two brothers that sent out 30,000 ballots out to different people, just a total screw up.
I'm not clear who the brothers are. Betsy, really appreciate it. And sister, glad you voted. And everyone, early voting is open in the state of Wisconsin. You can in-person absentee vote, and the lines were long. Our understanding this morning in Milwaukee. Wanted to find an article, though, here briefly. Dom, wanted to throw this out there, if I can find it. Waits are about 45 minutes in Menominee Falls this afternoon. The only issue in McGuanago was the understanding of the process. Yes, many people have not done it this way in the past. Where was it? Where was it? Damn it, man.
Well, in the meantime, Crudy, let me throw this out there. CNBC reporting today, with 2 weeks until Election Day, more than 34 million Americans have already voted in the 2020 presidential election, according to U.S. Elections Project data Tuesday. Votes cast by mail and in person this election cycle have now reached 24.5% of the more than 136 million ballots cast in the 2016 presidential election. By October 23rd, 2016, only 5.9 million Americans had voted early. 5.9, now we're up to 34 million. While Democrats have dominated vote by mail, Republicans are starting to make up ground with in-person early voting. About 13.7 million mail ballots tracked by the U.S. Elections Project registered Democrats have returned 54.4% compared with 23.6% by Republicans and 21.5% by voters with no party affiliation. 34 million. Now, I did click through to this, the data on this project, Elect Project. And
Mayor Barrett is speaking now.
Breakdown of the states, and you can hover over different states. I looked at Wisconsin. According to this very same data that CNBC is reporting on, early votes in Wisconsin, 915,965.
Say that number again.
915,000, almost 916,000 early votes already cast.
Already returned.
It returned in the state of Wisconsin, correct?
That's a big number. My understanding, Dane County, where I lived on, nearly half of voters have already cast their ballots.
Crudy, Texas is in the lead with the total early vote with 4.7 million.
That's a big number.
Followed up by California at 3.9, almost 4 million themselves.
Wow.
Right.
To my opinion, Dom, and you know I've made some bold statements on this program, occasionally with forethought.
You know, you kind of go in streaks, but yes, some of them come true.
Well, Dominic, my prediction is this is not going to be a close election. And you and I are going to be broadcasting it live. So if I'm wrong, call me on the air and hold me accountable.
Oh, I will.
Dominic, we'll be going live on election night. We will be Political Party Central right here. Me and you and Fancy Brian, 8 p.m. when the polls close in Wisconsin. We'll go live. We'll do it live till the midnight hour, the witching hour, until Joe Biden is the president of the United States. And I think we will know, Dom, and I think we will be celebrating a triumphant Joe Biden victory in the state of Wisconsin. It's going to carry him home. And we're going to crush Donald Trump. And it's not going to be close enough for him to try and steal it through any sort of machinations in the courts. That's my prediction. And how do I know it?
How do you know that, Mike?
Because people are standing in lines by the block, by the mile, by the hour to go and cast their votes against Donald Trump and, by extension, for Joe Biden. Kamala Harris doing a virtual rally in Milwaukee. We'll take you there next. Come back with us. You're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, at least the second best radio show at Devil Radio 92.7 today. Today. We'll give Earl greatest radio show ever. I mean, he's got He's got Kamala Harris and Donna Brazille. And my understanding is he didn't even supply Brazil with the questions.
Nice work.
Well done. Come back with us. Kamala Harris, a virtual rally, town hall, something. Get out the vote event in Milwaukee. And right here on the radio, it's next. Come back with us.
Wait a minute, Mr. Trump. You don't talk for the rest of us.
America has reached a tipping point. We're being torn apart at the seams, right when we need to be more united than ever as Americans. Joe Biden is the only candidate who can bring us together to get our country moving again.
United, we can and will overcome this season of darkness in America. While I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. That's the job of a president, to represent all of us, not just our base or our party.
Because only when we come together can we rebuild our economy the right way for working people. Biden's plan? No tax increases if you make under $400,000. Create 18 million new jobs. Higher wages. With ideas both parties can support.
This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment. I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
At Chad's Design Build, we have always been uncompromising about creating a safe and healthy home during your renovation and after. As we pause to allow our community to confront this crisis, we remain vigilant and determined to find a safe way to resume the essential work of maintaining and improving homes in our community. With love for each other, we'll find a way to carry on. We wish you all good health, strength, and wisdom. On behalf of the entire team at Chad's Design Build, this is Chad Spade.
Lando Commando here at Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, State Street's one-stop shop for all your CBD and vape needs, along with a walk-in humidor and huge glass selection. Check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com, for an in-store menu and growing online catalog, and get your order shipped right to your door. With voting season upon us, Knuckleheads wants you to get out and vote. Get a free vote t-shirt with every $50 purchase. Located at 550 State Street, the shop is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, and you can now call to schedule delivery or pickup. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, high above State Street, your safest place in Madison.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
We are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, a couple of Milwaukee electeds previewing the arrival of Kamala Harris on the virtual town hall Get Out the Vote rally event. And we're going to share the sound of Senator Harris with our fair audience as soon as she takes the stage. Tom Barrett, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett, my understanding, long lines in Milwaukee to go out and early vote. And I don't have to believe it because Barrett says it. I believe it because Earl Ingram Jr., perhaps the greatest radio host ever today, Earl told us this morning, lines were 7 to 9 blocks long in Milwaukee when he got to the early voting sites. At the point of them opening, people were lined up. What is it, like 8 city blocks is a mile, something like that, crazy? That's approximately
a lot of people. It depends on the size of the block, Rudy, but I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, the passion that these early voters have to get out there and make sure their vote gets counted is quite telling. And I'm hopeful, as you have predicted, Rudy, that this will be a blowout against Donald Trump. But you just after last time, man, I always want to hedge that. Don't want karma kicking my ass. So everybody just needs to keep on trucking, keep on working, keep on trying, do your best, get people out, get out. We got 2 more weeks. Everybody, we can do this.
Those votes, Democrats, bank those votes. And if you are like me and you want to vote on election day, and I'm going to choose to vote on election day, and I think that can be done very safely. I'm going to wear a mask and maybe even some gloves that day. And I'm going to stand at least a 6-foot distance, and I'll set aside some extra time. But Dominic, I have every intention of voting on Election Day. And it's going to be me and dozens in MAGA hats. I'm not even clear that the Trumpsters are going to vote on Election Day. I'm not as clear that they are as enthusiastic as Trump needs them to be. And I'm not clear that the suburban women still love the man.
Hey, he loves the women, though. How could they not like Donald Trump? Well, and of course, the blowback or the result that can happen from, Trump going out there and trying to get everyone concerned about the mail-in ballots. Well, obviously, Republicans do that as well. That's going to potentially impact his own base. So he's digging his own hole and seemingly doing it more so and more so every single day. And I just hope he continues to do that for the next 2 weeks.
Give him a shovel.
Give him a backhoe, man.
Now, Dominic, there is a planned debate on Thursday, and that's going to go off at 8 p.m. We're going to play it here live on Devil Radio 92.7. And then I'm going to do sort of a post game. Can't quite figure out when they want to wrap those things up. But here's the best news. And I'm not even clear that Joe Biden needs this debate, right? Currently,
right?
Why would Joe Biden even show up?
What's the upside?
The
Presumably
upside,
he's already leading, so he can maybe clarify some things and contrast even more so with Donald Trump. But no, Joe Biden does not need this debate.
No, but Trump needs this debate. And Trump's debate plan: be angry, happy, and like contented. I'm like, they're contradictory thoughts. You can't be all of those things.
No, not all at once, but you can, float in and out of each one of those depending on the topic and the answers in the conversation that you're having.
He'll laugh, he'll cry, he'll rage at the moderator.
He's already doing that.
You know the biggest problem, they're going to cut Donald Trump's microphone and Joe Biden's.
Well, right.
But the first 2 minutes of the first question on each topic, the other guy can't interrupt. And then they've got the crosstalk sections. And Trump will do plenty of cross-talking, but even to his own detriment. His own campaign wanted Joe Biden to have to answer some of those questions, and Trump kept interrupting him. And so if he was going to have a gaffe, if he was really deteriorating, how would you know?
Trump just talked all over him. He didn't give him the opportunity to screw up because Trump wouldn't shut up.
It was a disastrous result for Trump. And I can't wait till the final. This has got to be the granddaddy of the 2020 cycle, right, Tom? We've been to some 2-day debates, some 20 candidate debates.
Right.
And now it comes down to 2 men. 2 men enter and Joe Biden leaves.
Beyond Thunderdome.
I think, quite frankly, I don't, if there's ever going to be a last best chance for Donald Trump to change the trajectory of the race, it's got to be Thursday night. Or Bill Barr's going to have to indict Joe Biden.
Exactly.
Mandela Barnes right now.
I mean, from the reporting, Donald Trump is all over that and quite pissed off that Bill Barr has not acquiesced to Trump's wishes. I mean, he's calling for everybody to be arrested. He's calling on journalists. He's calling them criminals because they're not digging in deep enough on the Hunter Biden case.
Well, are you less criminal or less journalist?
These days, I'm less criminal than I used to be.
I've heard you've been pretty seditious of late. Bill Barr's got his eye on you, fella.
Oh, bring it. I can't wait for him to go to. This whole administration needs to turn over. The corruption is just so blatant and obvious. I mean, did you hear the Exxon thing yesterday? Trump's pretending like he's calling up these CEOs. Oh, I could raise $1 billion if I wanted to. Hey, Exxon, how's that exploring thing going? You guys need some permits? Hey, how about sending me like 25 mil? I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, though. I mean, the guy, at least, if nothing else, is consistent.
Well, when Exxon has to deny that you have not extorted them for the actual 25 million, when they've kind of denied that they didn't pay off the terrorist president of the United States, I don't know what's worse. I probably would have admired them more had they just paid the man off and been done with them, right?
Hey, just because they denied it didn't mean it didn't happen.
Fancy Brian's got his eye. Kamala Harris coming to the stage, virtually coming to your radio airwaves very shortly. a Get Out the Vote rally in Milwaukee happening, and it's going to happen on Devil Radio 92.7. Come back with us. More of the second greatest radio show today. Ever.
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
Shut the f up, Donnie.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
I'm your host, Pat Pobletti, and this podcast is brought to you by Spectrum. As COVID-19 cases continue to surge in Wisconsin, I'm joined by WISP business reporter Stephanie Hoff to talk about the state of the pandemic. Now, Stephanie, we talk on this podcast regularly about just about everything surrounding the pandemic, and it has almost become a backdrop to everything we do. But today I wanted to focus specifically on what we're seeing in regards to coronavirus. So can you kind of take us through the state of COVID here in Wisconsin?
Thanks, Pat. I'm happy to give an update, although I can't see anything that is really trending favorably. On Sunday, we hit a record of just under 4,000 new cases in a single day. That brought the 7-day average for those daily new COVID-19 cases to a record high. The state also saw a record day for coronavirus deaths this month when 34 Wisconsinites passed away. The 7-day average for single-day deaths due to the virus reached a peak at the start of this weekend. The Wisconsin Hospital Association reports that COVID-19 patients are at record highs as well. The Fox Valley Region hospitals were nearing capacity when it asked the state to open up its alternative care facility. That's at the State Fair Park in West Allis, Wisconsin. And as of yesterday, the field hospital had yet to see patients, but we'll see today if that has changed. And Pat, I should remind you that the implications of overwhelming our hospital systems was a key factor in the reasoning for the Safer at Home order. Since that's been struck down by the state Supreme Court, Governor Tony Evers is trying other strategies to mitigate the spread. And some of these are not popular with different groups. Pat, why don't you tell us about the court's recent decision to uphold the gov's capacity limitations?
Sure, Stephanie. I think that ties in nicely to what you were saying there. And let's go back and give a little bit of background because there's been a little bit of back and forth on this one too. So the limit on indoor public gatherings, which was of course issued by Health Services Secretary Andrea Palm, has been on hold since the middle of last week when Sawyer County Judge John Yackel granted the Tavern League's request for a temporary restraining order as part of its lawsuit. Now, that case is kind of bounced around through a couple different courts. Essentially, what you can do is have a request to have a case reassigned. Those requests are automatically granted. So the Department of Justice first filed one, which kicked it over to Bayfield County. And then the Tavern League filed a substitution request of its own, which resulted in the case landing in Barron County Court with Judge James Babler. Now, essentially what this suit has argued, to take you back a little bit further, is that the directive on capacity limits violated a 4-3 state Supreme Court decision from May that overturned the extended stay-at-home order that she issued earlier this spring, which is what you were talking about earlier. Now, that ruling reined in some of her powers and found that the directive that she ordered at that point should have been issued through the administrative rules process, which essentially just means that lawmakers have oversight over how it's done. Now, Babler noted that that decision from the Supreme Court left a lot of DHS secretary powers untouched, and he kind of peppered attorneys from both sides with questions about how the May ruling would apply to this new order. In the end, he found that Palm still has the power to issue the new directive, but he did say that he wished there was a little bit more clarity from the Supreme Court on the issue.
The Department of Health Services is having a health briefing today with Governor Tony Evers. You can see coverage on that in today's healthcare report, and that's a joint effort between WISPolitics.com and WISPbusiness.com. But until tomorrow, I'm Stephanie Hoff. Thanks for tuning in.
This has been Wiz Politics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit WISPolitics.com.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Waunakee's choice for essential radio.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Well, we're playing second fiddle to Earl today. He'll join us in the 4 o'clock happy hour. We are going to join a live virtual Get Out the Vote Milwaukee event. Our friend Congresswoman Gwen Moore, and very soon to the stage, to the airwaves, Senator Kamala Harris, the VP nominee of the Democratic Party. She was interviewed exclusively by Earl Ingram earlier today. He's going to play out that fine interview. But let's go, Gwen Moore. She's talking right now. Our pal, play it for the people. Fancy.
Conditions were not good as well. So we are really depending on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to help us build back better. We just cannot go back our pre-COVID conditions. We've got to build back better. Nobody knows that more than Joe. Because, Joe thinks
your mic is
up
on my board.
Good enough. So our recovery should include all of us, no matter what our race is. We should get a fair return on our efforts in this economy. But we've got to do our part in order to do this. We've got to go vote. Go to iwillvote.com/WI to get information. Don't be fooled. Don't become complacent. You've got to make sure that you are not disenfranchised. Don't forget, in Wisconsin, you can register to vote when you go vote in person. All you need is that ID, proof of residence. And even if that ID is expired or you've moved, just go and bring one of your bills. I know you got a We Energies bill, and show that you actually live there. You can vote. If any questions about how to register to vote or cast your vote, don't hesitate to call that voter assistance hotline at 608-336-3232, 608-336-3232. And then sign up to volunteer with the campaign in these final days, so that you can text people, so you can call people, so that we can make sure that all Wisconsinites have a plan to vote, and that our friends and our family and our coworkers also have their plan. Keep making those calls, sending those texts, post on social media. Even I post on social media, and spread the word. Do everything we can to help elect Joe and Kamala and Democrats up and down the ballot. Joe and Kamala can't do it alone. Just as Yellow Pain says, we have got to do our part to make sure that we vote up and down the ballot. Do what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told us. We have got to elect people who will do justice and walk humbly with God. So vote, bring your friends and family with you. We're in a battle for the soul of our nation. Together, we're going to win it. Let's get it in Milwaukee. And let me tell you, nobody is better to be in this fight with us than our own Senator Tammy Baldwin. As you know, Tammy Baldwin is the author of the provision in the Affordable Care Act that is so at risk right now. And that is being able to keep kids on their parents' insurance until they're 21. So I'm so happy to turn it over to our good friend and our own Senator Tammy Baldwin.
Thank you so much, Gwen. It is a delight to join you and follow you. Look, early in-person voting has started in Milwaukee, but you can be the first one to move our country forward. So make a plan to vote early. Head to iwillvote.com/WI for more voting information. Now, as you know, in Wisconsin, you can register when you vote. Just bring your photo ID and proof of residence. It couldn't be more clear that our lives and our livelihoods are on the ballot this November. And so is the character of this country, which is why we need to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Here in Wisconsin, we can play a pivotal role in moving our country forward. We must make our voices heard. There is an option for everyone to cast their ballot, and we have to work collectively to make sure everybody knows how. So the stakes are incredibly high. Wisconsin communities are facing multiple crises right now, including a painful economic recession and global health pandemic. And we have another crisis, a president who ignores all of it and has absolutely no plan. Instead of preparing for a virus, that he knew would lead to a pandemic, President Trump lied. He lied to the American people. 9 months in, he still doesn't have a plan to contain the virus. And as Wisconsin shatters all previous state records of confirmed cases, hospitalizations, and deaths, Trump said we are rounding the corner. I don't know what corner he's talking about. As a deadly disease rips through our communities, he has failed to do his job on purpose. And it didn't have to be this bad. Instead of fighting for working families, President Trump is looking out for his rich friends and for Wall Street interests. Instead of bringing our country together during a historic movement for racial justice, he tore us apart. Instead of conceding that whoever wins the election should appoint the next Supreme Court justice, he's ramming through a nominee in order to gut the Affordable Care Act during a once-in-a-generation, once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. Over 4 years, he's shown that he is unable or unwilling to move our country forward. The good news is it doesn't have to be this way. We have a candidate in Joe Biden with the experience to help us recover and the empathy to help our country heal. Joe knows that the middle class isn't a number, it's a value set. Joe has a plan to end this pandemic, and as soon as there's a safe and effective vaccine, he'll make sure that it's available to everyone, everywhere, no matter where you live or how much you can pay. Instead of trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act and allow insurance companies to write the rules and discriminate against the more than 2.4 million Wisconsinites who have pre-existing health conditions, Joe's going to build on it. He's going to lower the cost of health care. And instead of fighting for tax giveaways for the Mar-a-Lago crowd, Joe will build our economy back better, and this time deal everyone in. So Joe won't just bring us back to the way things were before President Trump. For too many, the good old days weren't so good to begin with. In this recovery, he'll bring everyone along, regardless of your race, your hometown, or your tax bracket. And he'll build back an America that's better than it's ever been. An economy where every American enjoys a fair return for their work and an equal chance to get ahead. And an economy more vibrant and more powerful precisely because everyone will be cut into the deal. But to get there, you and I have to do our part. We must vote. Go to iwillvote.com/WI to make your plan to vote early. And make no mistake, this election is going to be close. And that's why we need to dig deep in these last 2 weeks to make sure that everyone knows how easy and convenient it is to vote early. As we've said throughout this call, if you're voting by mail, you should plan to send your ballot in as soon as possible and at the latest by October 25th. And you can vote early in person at early voting sites across the city. And of course, you can vote in person at your polling place on Election Day, November 3rd. Don't forget, in Wisconsin, you can register when you vote. Just bring your ID and proof of residence. And if you have any questions about how to register or cast your ballot, call the Voter Assistance Hotline at 608-336-3232 and sign up to volunteer with the campaign in these final days. We must make sure that Wisconsinites have a plan to vote and that our friends, our family, our coworkers, our neighbors also have their plans. Keep on making calls, sending text, posting on social media, and spreading the word. Do everything you can to help elect Joe and Democrats up and down the ballot. Joe and Kamala cannot do it alone. They need every single one of us to do our part. So vote and bring your friends and family with you, because we are in the battle for the soul of our nation. And together, we will win it. Let's get it done, Milwaukee. Now, before I turn it over to my dear friend and my colleague, Senator Kamala Harris, I wanted to wish her a very happy birthday from all of us in the Badger State. Now, Kamala, don't tell us what your birthday wish is, but I bet we can all guess. So get ready to blow out your candle. Just a second here. Happy birthday, Kamala. Now blow it out.
She
Make
has
a wish.
a gigantic
blow it out.
cupcake that she's holding up.
Oh, that's so great.
You got it.
I did. I blew it out. Oh, Tammy. Oh, that's beautiful. I virtually received that, and I thank you. Oh, that's so thoughtful of you. And while we have all the friends, I just want to thank you all for sending Senator Tammy Baldwin to the United States Senate. We have worked closely together on a number of issues. She is constantly fighting for the people of Milwaukee. I can't say this often enough. The people, I mean, the entire state of Wisconsin, we sit in meetings, in the caucus meetings with our colleagues, and Tammy is always standing up. No cameras in the room, or whether cameras in the room or not, always standing up for the people of Wisconsin, always standing up for working people, always standing up for families, and really is a conscience of the United States Senate. So thank you for sending her there. Tammy, thank you for your friendship and for the birthday greetings. Congresswoman Gwen Moore, you are a force. You are a force. We serve together in many ways, including in the Congressional Black Caucus. You are always both Tammy and you, every visit I pay to Wisconsin, you are there. And beforehand, you brief me so that I will make sure that when I am in Wisconsin, I am in tune with the issues and aware of the needs of the people of the state. And so I thank you, Gwen Moore, for your leadership and friendship. County Executive David Crowley, thank you for all that you do. Mayor Tom Barrett, it's great to see you. And Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, I want to thank you. The last time I was physically in Wisconsin, we were there together. You convened a group of leaders, community leaders, small business leaders, Black entrepreneurs. It was very insightful. It was a wonderful visit, and I want to thank you for your leadership and your friendship. So thank you to everybody. It's great to be with you. So we are 14 days away from this election, and today is the first day of early voting in Wisconsin. My birthday. That was my little indulgence. But, you know, I actually started the day being in Milwaukee virtually. I did a number of radio interviews, and I was so excited to hear. I was speaking with various Milwaukee leaders, and I was so excited to hear about how at the very first hour of early voting this morning, people were lined up. And I just want to say thank you for that, because what a great beginning. Now we got to see it through, but what a great beginning. And I think it speaks, first of all, to the leadership of the people I've just mentioned, and all of the community leaders, the faith-based leaders, so many folks who have reminded everybody and reminded their family members and their friends and their neighbors about what is at stake in this election. And as Joe Biden always says, the thing that is at stake, reigning over all of it, is the soul of America. But let's look at where we are. We're in the midst of a pandemic, which has, at this point, taken the lives of over 220,000 Americans in just the last several months. We're looking at the fact that over 8 million people who have contracted this virus, thank God that they are living, but with still untold long-term health consequences, including what classification they are now going to be in, which is to have a pre-existing condition. We're looking at the fact that because of this public health pandemic, we're in the midst of a recession that is being compared to the Great Depression. People in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, I know, and all across our country are driving into food lines, parked for hours, hoping that by the time they get to the end of the line, the food is still there. Nationally, we're looking at 1 in 5 mothers describing her children under the age of 12 as being hungry. We're not talking enough about the fact that we're dealing with a hunger crisis on top of it all. People in Milwaukee being unable to or finding it very difficult in very large percentages to pay the rent, September's rent, October's rent. So all of this in terms of the economic impact. And then, we're looking at these crises that are as a result of the COVID. And then we are also dealing with the long overdue reckoning in America in terms of America's history and existence of racial injustice. And we're looking at the crisis of climate and what that is doing and what it has been doing around our country, from the West, from where I come, with the fires that have been raging all across the Western states, to the storms that have been hitting the Gulf Coast, to what has been happening in the Midwest in terms of farmers and floods and losing a season of crops. So these are the things that have been happening in our country. And in addition, we're looking at the issue of the United States Supreme Court and what is happening in terms of COVID. And then in the midst of that, we're dealing with a push by members of the United States Congress to ram through a Supreme Court nominee, and to do that for political purposes. Meanwhile, sitting on their desk is a bill that would bring relief to the American people. And it's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk for over 150 days and moving nowhere in the United States Senate. And so all of this, in addition to what we know has been the President, Donald Trump, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act in the United States Supreme Court, because he's had this weird obsession with trying to get rid of whatever Barack Obama and Joe Biden created. And in so doing, if they are successful, would not only get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which brought health care to over 20 million people. That means over 20 million people will lose their coverage. But they would also, as a result of getting rid of the Affordable Care Act, get rid of the protections that it created for people with pre-existing conditions, people like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. In Wisconsin, 2.4 million residents have pre-existing conditions. So this is what we're looking at. And frankly, I think that it is more than fair to say that Donald Trump has exhibited a reckless disregard for human life. And there's just no denying that. And again, when we're looking at the numbers who have been on unemployment, the numbers who have been impacted by COVID, the numbers who have been impacted by the existence of all that has happened in terms of the death and the cover up in our country. And so where I am now is that we need to look at where we are in terms of Joe's vision. Okay, because clearly Donald Trump, they knew what was going on. They knew that it could hurt people. They had the information since January. They covered it up. They gave people no indication of how serious it was. They didn't give families enough time to make decisions about how they would live their lives, how they would protect their families, and this is where we are. And so what we have to do is we got to elect Joe Biden. We have to elect Joe Biden. Tammy talked about it, that Joe has a plan and we have a plan. And part of it is starting with containing COVID. And, the thing about Joe is that he has a deep understanding of how our government works. He has an understanding of what it means to manage a crisis. He dealt with these crises in the past, whether it be the Great Recession, when he pushed through the Recovery Act, or what he did to work on containing Ebola. Joe has talked about a plan for COVID since March, and it's a plan that is about saving lives and saving the economy. And, Joe and I believe, and this is a very big difference between us and Donald Trump, we believe that you can measure the health and the well-being of the economy, not based on how rich people are doing, but based on how working people are doing. And ours is going to be economic policy that is about supporting and holding up working people. We will not increase taxes for anybody making under $400,000 a year. But what we will do is we will eliminate the Trump tax cut for the wealthy, the top 1% and the biggest corporations. We will invest in people who need help with health care and better schools and childcare. We will protect Social Security and Medicare. These are the things that we will do because we understand if we want to build up America's economy, we have to build up working people. And the bottom line is also doing it in a way that unites the American people, that brings us together. Joe and I are particularly proud of a broad coalition that we have built, one of the broadest coalitions that we've seen in a presidential race. Democrats, of course, but also Republicans and independents and people of every race and every background coming together around an umbrella of understanding that we are better than this as a nation and that we are all in this together. So that's the spirit with which we are in this campaign and the work that we are doing over the next 14 days. It is about building back up better. It is about unifying our country. It is about speaking to our higher purpose and ideals and doing the work that is necessary to remind everyone that they are not alone. We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together. So 14 days to go. And again, early voting starts today. Wisconsin, you're the key. Milwaukee, we need you. And you can register when you vote. It's important to know that. You will just need a photo ID and proof of residence. Proof of residence could include your driver's license or your state ID or, your utility bills. But it is important that you vote early. Please vote early, urge others to vote early. I know you've heard it before, but go to the website, iwillvote.com/WI, and make sure that your vote is counted and that your voice through your vote is heard. Because listen, even though some people are trying to confuse folks about the election and the process of voting, some people are trying to suggest that your vote won't matter. No, what they understand is that when you vote, you have power. They understand the power of your vote. That's why they're trying to discourage you. But let's not let anyone ever take our power from us. We won't do that. We vote to honor the ancestors, which includes folks like the great late John Lewis. We vote to honor the ancestors like those suffragettes 100 years ago this year who passed and helped pass the 19th Amendment. We vote because we know what's at stake, from healthcare to the economy, to the standing of our nation and the unity of our nation. And we vote because we know our power. And we vote because we know when we vote, things change and we win. Thank you, Milwaukee. Thank you.
That was Senator Kamala Harris, the Democratic VP nominee. Dominic, before that, we heard Tammy Baldwin and Gwen Moore. Others spoke before we took it live. People like Mandela Barnes, David Crowley, and Tom Barrett. And I like this woman. She is energizing. She is engaging. And she is just what Joe Biden needed.
Absolutely spot on. Wisconsin, as she said, it is up to Wisconsin. And what that means, that, trickle that down, that means Milwaukee, Wisconsin, got to turn out, got to get there. Appreciate the vice presidential candidate coming around and bringing all of our Democratic friends with her. 2 weeks, iwillvote.com.
Dominic, perhaps the biggest exclusive in Devil Radio 92.7 history. Kamala Harris, an exclusive interview. Not me, not Dominic, not Fancy Brian. Our buddy Earl. I got Earl envy today, Dom. And not only does he have Kamala Harris, in your absence the other day, he had Valerie Jarrett. And later in his big show, he's got Donna Brazille. And I got to ask, what are we doing wrong?
I don't know. I think I blame you.
Probably my fault. Clearly my fault. I have done something wrong. We'll try to make amends in the happy hour. We'll just rub with greatness. We'll have our pal Earl Ingram Jr. He'll join us in the happy hour, preview That exclusive interview that will play out after 5 on the Earl Show. Apparently not the Devil's
Gonna rub
Advocates.
greatness, Crudy. Make sure you turn the Zoom off.
Oh,
just saying,
that
man.
is another topic of conversation, Dom. Well, let's take a little break. Give Dom a little me time.
I'll make sure I turn it off.
Come back. The happy hour is next. A special event. Kamala Harris, a virtual Get Out the Vote rally on her 56th birthday, Milwaukee, the targeted location. And our fair audience, you're always welcome. It's always your birthday when you dial us at 844-967-2789. More Devils, the happy hour starts right now.
Have to beat that off. You know, they got New York all over.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I'm Rocker, and this is my vodka, distilled right here in Madison, made from corn and gluten-free. Try Rocker Vodka at Sal's Dark Horse on Livingston or Sugar River Pizza in Verona. Find Rocker Vodka at Star Liquor, Woodman's, Willie Street Co-op, Vic Pierce, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, Miller & Sons, and more at rockervodka.com.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at Talk 92.7 FM.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Wisconsin is one of the states reporting spikes in coronavirus cases. Today is also the first day of early voting in Wisconsin, a key battleground state. Mayor Tom Barrett noticed long lines to vote in Milwaukee.
Voters can go to early voting and feel confident they will have a safe, healthy voting experience.
President Trump and Joe Biden are doing debate prep. Their final debate is Thursday night. President Trump will be campaigning tonight in Pennsylvania. On Fox and Friends, the president says he is on board for a new coronavirus economic relief bill.
Not every Republican agrees with me, but they will. But I want to do it even bigger than the Democrats because this is money going to people that did not deserve what happened to them coming out of China.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he'll schedule a vote if a deal is reached. A police officer was shot and killed in Houston, another officer wounded when a man opened fire on law enforcement responding to a domestic disturbance call.
The suspect immediately engaged officers, shooting multiple rounds at officers, striking Officer Courtney Waller in the arm and striking Sergeant Preston.
Chief Art Acevedo says Sergeant Harold Preston died at a local hospital. The suspect is in custody. More businesses are being allowed to reopen in California, but Health Director Dr. Mark Galey says because of the coronavirus, big places like Disneyland are staying closed.
For all the other theme parks, the larger theme parks, we are waiting till Tier 4, that's the yellow tier, with a limited capacity of 25%, even in that yellow tier.
Also from California, federal regulators say the lack of a required roving night watchman on a scuba dive boat delayed the detection of a fire that killed 34 people last year. Court documents say charges against the boat's captain are imminent. On Wall Street, the Dow finished up 113 points. This is AP News.
Other banks charge fees on savings and checking accounts. Doesn't sound good, does it? Capital One reimagined banking. So it sounds more like this. With Capital One, you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. Get started now at a Capital One location or online. Sound good to you? This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Approval required. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens. We make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
The challenges we face today are too big to tackle just as Democrats or just as Republicans. We have to do it as Americans. This virus, this recession, it's hitting working people hardest. And Joe Biden knows that this recovery must be about them, not the super rich.
I'll be laser focused on working families. That's why I've laid out a comprehensive agenda, not just to rebuild our communities, but to make bold investments so we can build back and build back better. We're going to invest in creating millions of good paying jobs, building roads, bridges, highways, ports, airports.
A mission both parties can agree with, because it's time we come together as Americans.
But while I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment. I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Are you a small business owner or professional that would like to be featured in your own weekly Ask the Expert radio segment or show on Devil Radio? Let us help you in your business. Team with our broadcast professionals to create the right show or segment, setting you apart as the go-to professional and as an expert in your field. All shows and sponsored segments are podcasted. It will be professional broadcast quality. Packages from $395. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-TALK.
It's Max Inc.'s Halloween Spooktacular on Devil Radio 92.7 FM with Jimmy K and Rocker. Saturday, October 31st, 6 p.m. to midnight, featuring live music with a chat room, virtual costume contest with prizes, and call-in requests. It's Max Inc.'s Halloween Spooktacular, brought to you by Rocker Vodka and Hotel K, with free beer all night long. Wait, this is radio. How do I get the beer?
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, October 20th. Foxconn says its commitment to Wisconsin has not wavered, though its plans have changed. Foxconn Technology Group founder Terry Gao said Monday that even though the plans have changed, the Taiwanese company remains committed to investing in Wisconsin more than 2 years after its groundbreaking. Phase 2 of small business grants available, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation opened the small loan application on Monday. Phase 2 of the We're All In small business grant applications are open until November 2nd. AG call, voter intimidation is illegal and breaking that law risks jail time. Voter intimidation is against the law in Wisconsin, and anyone planning on scaring voters at the polls had better be ready to go to jail, said Attorney General Josh Kaul. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, it's 2 weeks and a wake up. 2 weeks to Election Day, November 3rd. In only 60 minutes until the greatest Tuesday Devil Radio exclusive interview ever, perhaps, plays. Earl Ingram had an exclusive earlier today with Kamala Harris. I got a little Earl envy today going on, so I'm going to rub up against greatness, not like you're thinking, Don, but I'm going to have Earl join us at about 4:30 today to preview that exclusive with Kamala Harris. And speaking of 60 minutes, Tom, see what I did there?
I see how you threw it out there, you big tease.
Donald Trump apparently doing an interview for 60 minutes with Leslie Stahl, and things went very badly, Dom. According to the Raw story, Trump abruptly storms out a 60 minutes interview and refuses to return.
Like take my ball and go.
little punk kid, Donald Trump, it should come. This is not shocking, is it, Don?
No, of course not. Go ahead. Go get to the article. That's fine. I got some other news as well, but I want to hear if it comes out.
Briefly, President Donald Trump was said to have abruptly ended an interview with 60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl at the White House. According to CNN correspondent Caitlin Collins, the drama, you remember No Drama Obama? This guy is the opposite of that.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. He doesn't have the temperament for the job.
No, apparently he does not. The drama occurred on Tuesday afternoon. Here's what she tweeted. Apparently there was some drama while President Trump was taping his 60 Minutes interview today, Collins wrote on Twitter. He abruptly ended his solo interview after around 45 minutes and did not return for a scheduled walk and talk. On 60 Minutes, they always do the walk and talk, Dom. He was supposed to tape with Mike Pence. Maybe he blames Pence for the Packers losing this weekend, like I blame Pence for jinxing the Packers this weekend. They were told by sources, Dom. Did that cover your breaking news?
No, but my understanding, Curdy, also during that particular interview, Leslie Stahl not wearing a mask, Trump apparently wearing a mask, and then Trump was mask shaming the interviewer, Leslie Stahl.
Oh, of course he was. Have you seen his newest television ads?
No.
Trump wears a mask in several scenes. You know, he's leading us through this pandemic.
Is that what he's doing? Well,
Suddenly, he's wearing a mask, but he is lying through his teeth. And I thought to myself, well, how can these local TV stations, these cable news outlets, how can they accept so blatantly false an ad? And specifically what jumped out. Joe Biden's going to raise taxes on 82% of Americans. And Joe Biden has pledged, and we've even got sound from Kamala Harris, I believe yesterday, reinforcing the fact that if you don't make more than $400,000 per year, and currently, Dom, I came in just below that threshold.
So close.
So I and you and all the well-to-do listeners, talking to you, Mequon Mike, don't have to worry unless we make more than $400,000 a year. Then we may be subject to a tax increase. So I guess I am talking to you, Mequon Mike, you braggart. But the rest of us, I'm feeling quite confident. We'll skim by. We'll see.
Well, I guess your point, though, these ads that are running, and there's just enough perhaps ambiguity in the statements. I'm going to repeal Trump's, tax cuts. Well, Trump's had, tax cuts, and people did get tax cuts. Now, certainly the very wealthy got the very most, but if you look at a specific word without getting into the details, we're going to repeal Trump's tax cuts, except for those making under $400,000. I mean, that's maybe a specific case, but if you hear different iterations of that, there's just enough ambiguity, perhaps for the media to knowing that they have to run these things once they're purchased.
I mean, if you're handed a ad that is full of falsehoods, you could decline to run that ad. But I don't see too many right-wing outlets, and let's face facts, folks, most of the TV stations and the networks, by the time you're talking about multinational corporations, they're probably less Bernie-cratic than, let's just say, Trumpian.
I would think so.
I'm just assuming, Dom. I don't know any billionaires. Do you?
I know of billionaires. I personally do not know any billionaires.
I thought you shook a billionaire's hand. He claimed he was a 10 billionaire.
No, Trump shook my hand.
But I'm having my doubts. 844-967-2789. I have my doubts whether or not you can aptly describe this as the greatest radio show ever.
How dare you?
When we've been surpassed by our buddy Earl, at least in the booking category. But we've got the best audience ever. And we'll go there now. 844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC. Welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
Well, I voted today. Hey, guys.
Good for you, man.
Hey, congratulations. Who'd you vote for?
It was
tough choice.
It was not a tough choice. I voted for Joe Biden and Mark Pocan and Dave Constantine. At the local, one of our local assemblymen here. That it was not a tough choice at all. No line, but I went in there loaded for bear. I had my birth certificate with me, my social security card, my driver's license, just in case there was any little Republican freak in there that was going to challenge me.
Were there any poll watchers in attendance, with or without MAGA hats?
Not that I saw in my little Prairie du Sac office there. That
were there lines, Mark? You said very little wait. Was there a line?
Lines. No, there was like two other people that had walked in just before me, and our clerk got them to walk, got them their ballots right away, and that got me my ballot, and that was going to how they have to do it here is absentee. They give you an absentee envelope, and she witnessed my signature for me. Because I was a little worried about my signature, because my signature doesn't look anything like it used to with working with the neuropathy. But it was pleasure to get that vote in. And I joked with one of the other people coming out. I said I would have called over broken glass to vote in this election. It's just Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to the republic. And I was thinking that I hear in the reports of the Russians that just got busted for hacking into apparently the French elections and businesses over here.
They were the very same Russians that were trying to hack into the American elections. They were charged for everything but their actions trying to.
And don't forget the Olympics, Mark.
Yeah, and I wonder what old Ron Johnson thinks of the GRU now, if he thinks that they're better than our FBI and our CIA. And
come on, man, they make the best 4th of July borscht potato salad of all time.
And borscht is actually pretty good, but I mean that that we've all got food to contribute to our nation's palate, to the world of nations' palates. But I mean that
no, America really hasn't contributed anything.
French fries. Thank you for the call, Mark. Appreciate it.
Pizza?
844-967-2789.
I don't think we've contributed much to the world's palate. The Twinkie. We can take credit for the Twinkie. Anything processed with extra process and jam some extra gluten in there. And if you could double down on the sugar, I'd appreciate it. I mean,
all the sugar, twice the caffeine, like Jolt soda, man.
Hostess fruit pies and Mountain Dew. Those are American originals.
Oh, and you got to put lots of preservatives on them too, because they got to stay on the shelf for a while.
Shelf life for the nuclear age.
That's right.
As a young teenager, I would start each and every day as a young American with the 25 cent, I think it was a quarter, can of Mountain Dew and a Hostess fruit pie that cost 99 cents.
Breakfast of champions, man.
Oh, it'd keep me awake at least for 45 minutes, a full hour. Then I'd sneak back in the tombs. I worked in a library, and I'd sneak back in the tombs, and I'd either pick a book or take a nap.
Hanging out in the art section. Crudy, 844-967-2789.
No, you're confusing me with, who was it?
Joe?
Joe. No, the CNN contributor that got caught with his hand on the Zoom conference.
Was that Toobin?
Jeffrey Toobin.
Yes.
And
Jeffrey
this is
Toobin.
Perhaps one of the stranger stories I've seen this political cycle. Don, they were doing simulated election somethings, and he thought he was on one Zoom call and apparently had a little break in the action and, was enjoying some me time.
Thought he'd rub one out. I'm just unclear. I mean, really?
And got caught on this Zoom call with his hand on the mushroom, the cookie jar, if you will.
Have to beat that off.
Yes, it was a strange and troubling story. And apparently Toobin has been suspended from both his big-time jobs, CNN contributor, and I think he worked at the New Yorker as well.
I think it was during a New Yorker call or Zoom that actually occurred. And Fancy Brian did find an interesting article at the Gizmodo, and maybe we'll come back with that, with the details of the alone time. But here's the headline. How to avoid accidentally showing your genitals to your colleagues on Zoom.
Before we go to break, quick, Tom, I got one quick question for you.
Yeah, what's that?
Hand check. Is that a question? How about you, Fancy Brain? Hand check. Oh. Only one.
One on the mouse.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We'll try to keep it just this side of FCC mandates.
Just this side.
You know, if you're zooming right now, be careful. Someone just might be watching. More Devils. Phone lines open. 844-967-2789.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
It is absolutely 150% your fault. I hate you.
Donald Trump.
I hate you.
Hey, Solidarity Realty here. It's time for another election. Time for your voice to be heard. By now, you probably have a good idea of which presidential candidate you are voting for, or at least we hope you do. While picking a president is important, we wanted to remind you that down ballot is just as important. Research your local candidates, make sure they know who you are and what you stand for, because our community will only thrive if everyone has a seat at the table.
Hola, Wisconsin. Voces de la Frontera Action has spent decades organizing to advance racial and immigrant justice, workers' rights, and education for all. Many of you have joined our historic Day Without Latinx and Immigrants mass strikes to beat back corporate policies that try to divide our communities and separate families. As a battleground state in 2020, your vote matters. We must unite to vote out Trump and his far-right administration that promote racism and violence while hoarding the wealth for the rich. The pandemic has heightened the urgency for access to healthcare, investment, and COVID-19 protections for workers, small business owners, and schools. That is why we must vote for Joe Biden. Join Voces de la Frontera Action by visiting vdlfa.org or calling 414-643-1620. And don't forget, early voting starts October 20th. Onwards to victory. Sí se puede.
Paid for by Voces de la Frontera Action, independent of any candidate or candidate committee.
Hi, this is Cody with Go Landscaping. We do full yard installs, retaining walls, and certified dry stone masonry. Let us turn your dream for an outdoor living space into a reality. Go Landscaping is still taking on new commercial and residential lawn care for this summer, or let us bid your snow removal for fall. Find us at golandscapings.com. Again, that's golandscapings.com.
Taking on Radio Whitey Talk Radio on both sides of the dial from McFarland to Wanakee, Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It is the 420 break. And if you haven't heard, Spencer Davis, dead at 81 years old today. Thank you for the music. And if you heard the outro of the last segment, Fortunate Son. Apparently, John Fogerty has some issues with the president continuing to play that song at his rallies.
He literally hates Trump.
He literally hates him. So some sad news in the music world today. Spencer Davis, dead at 81 from pneumonia.
Dominic, we will get back to the phones in a moment at 844-967-2789. Earl Ingram Jr., the star of stage and radio programming, he joins us at 4:30. But you mentioned the Fortunate Son. Let's talk just for a moment about Eric Trump. He was interviewed today. I want to read the raw story recounting of what he had to say. President Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump, is hitting the campaign trail to help his father's flailing re-election efforts. Is that going to help? Is Eric going to turn it all around? I read on. On Tuesday, he headed to Michigan, where he chatted with Trump supporters and delivered a short speech, the only kind he's capable of delivering.
See Don run.
Here's what he said. There's not a week that goes by that we're not parodied on Saturday Night Live. That's fine. I actually take it as a badge of honor, to tell you the truth, because it means they hate us so much because we're doing something right.
So?
And then he says, does that make sense? ? No, it makes very little sense. Meaning, if they parody you and they want to put that much energy into you, that means that you've been incredibly effective. Does that make sense? ?
To me, they're not even people.
No, same answer, sir. Still no.
No.
Here's more from Trump. But every day we wake up and we get punched in the face, and we go to bed and we get punched in the face. I'm pretty sure you're doing something wrong.
Right. I mean, if that's what's happening, if that's what's going on around you, perhaps it's your behavior, your actions. Perhaps you are responsible for the quote unquote punching in the face.
Perhaps.
I'm just throwing out a guess here.
Real quick, Dom. Eric Trump, the fortunate son, also posted this photo of him with the Michigan Trump supporters. Hardly a mask in the room. Among those in the photo is former ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, who also now serves as the RNC senior advisor to LGBT outreach. And didn't Eric Trump first join the LGBTQ community and then deny that he was gay in the last couple of weeks?
My understanding, there was a misspeak along the lines.
That's why they keep the speeches short. Kind of like here, 844-967-2789. Never rant for like 2-3 minutes tops.
Tops.
You'll lose track of what you were talking about. I feel quite confident.
Yeah.
Let's go, Paul. Welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, hi, Devils. At this point, I've been saying it for quite a while, Trump is just a bottomless pit, and it just never ends. In this state, as I look at Foxconn and the articles that you read yesterday, Crudy, and the articles I read today, where people didn't have nothing to do, so they went down to, where is that, Mount Pleasant? Is that the name of the town?
Mount Pleasant, yeah.
Yeah, they went down there and rode around with golf carts until they ran out of juice, and
they raced them.
Nothing to do.
NASCAR style. If you're not first, you're last, Paul.
Rubbins racing, shake and bake.
It's just an amazing thing, and I'm going to be paying for that till the day I die in this state. I don't know. But Trump, he says things and he never follows through with them, and it's just one lie right after the other. And at this point, I don't know who in this state would ever vote for the man, anywhere for that matter.
All the Republicans will, Paul. Every single one of them.
That's scary. That really scares me. That's just, that means the Democrats probably don't have a chance in the congressional district except for maybe Spokane, Glenmore, and Bronstein. It'll be at that if that's the case.
If we're lucky, that'll be the three. I mean, the Democrats are so cracked and packed in the predominantly Democratic district. Gwen Moore is Congresswoman Moore as long as she ever wants to be, and Mark Pocan, of course, can serve here in Madison because he reflects his constituency's wishes. And also, he's gerrymandered into a district that's like 80% Democrat. So he's pretty safe. Now, Ron Kind always gets a challenge, and the Republicans, they need turnout there on the river, Paul, because that is the swingiest part of the state of Wisconsin. If you win the river, you're probably going to win the presidential campaign. So they're trying to turn someone out against Ron Kind, but Ron's got a massive war chest. And Ron is a fairly smart guy, good-looking guy. I mean, it's sort of a blue dog, third wave Democrat, but
he's kind of like a young Biden to me. I mean, he's certainly not the far left progressive part of the Democratic Party.
And unfortunately, I'm not even sure if Grothman's district is competitive enough unless he was named the Trumpiest Trumpster of them all. And there was some sort of massive blue wave that happened November 3rd. Paul, that seat, I'd love to see us win back that seat. I like that Roger Pollack running in the first CD against Brian Stiles and Mike Gallagher. He's not as bad as the rest, but Grothman, I'd really like to see Grothman exiled back to mom's basement.
Well, and let's not forget Palzowitz running against Fitzy. Again, that's going to be an uphill climb, but we're all gunning and pulling for Tom.
Well, no one deserves a promotion from state Senate Majority Leader than Fitzy. I mean, would you promote that guy?
No.
Would you let that guy open your McDonald's franchise?
Based on what would you give that man a promotion?
Well, he's been working on lettuce, and then he was the fryer. He's going up to assistant manager now, and hopefully he's praying the big bucks start. Can't live forever on per diem, can you, Fitzy? Come back, more Devils. Our buddy Earl Ingram Jr., he's nearly famous.
From Wanakee to McFarland, 92.7 FM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic. Thursday. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, the final presidential debate live from Belmont University for a Nashville 90, and this time, the moderator controls the mics. Tune in Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Time to Devil Radio 92.7, streaming live at DARNY.com. Crudy hosts live post-debate coverage immediately following the action. Broadcast sponsored by Teamsters Local 200 and the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Will democracy survive the muted bloodbath? Tune in for the politics, stay for the rhetoric. Trump versus Biden, live on Devil Radio.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Lando Commando at Knucklehead CBD and Vape, State Street's one-stop shop for all your CBD and vape needs. Check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com, for an in-store menu and growing online catalog. Shop is open 10 a.m., 8 p.m. every day. New delivery options available. Knucklehead CBD and Vape, safest place in Madison.
Coronavirus death toll higher. I'm Jackie Quinn with an AP News Minute. A new report from the Federal Centers for Disease Control finds there were 300,000 more deaths from February to September of this year than in previous years, while Johns Hopkins University has tallied more than 220,000 coronavirus deaths. This suggests that the number is actually much higher. Top Senate Democrats are slamming GOP leader Mitch McConnell's COVID relief proposal at $650 billion. It's about a third of what Democrats are seeking, but he says they want too much.
Far left wish list of non-COVID related priorities and obstructing any additional aid until they get it.
President Trump's calling on Attorney General William Barr to launch an investigation of Joe Biden and his son, despite the department's historic resistance to election involvement. A judge has cleared the way for a grand juror to speak out in the case against the police officers in Kentucky who shot and killed Breonna Taylor. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Other banks charge fees on savings and checking accounts. Doesn't sound good, does it? Capital One reimagined banking. So it sounds more like this. With Capital One, you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. Get started now at a Capital One location or online. Sound good to you? This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Approval required. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens. We make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with a breaking news hit. Voters wait in long lines as early in-person voting begins in Milwaukee and the rest of Wisconsin. Devil Radio's own Earl Ingram spoke with Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris.
I just want to thank everybody for voting early in Milwaukee. Remember to bring your ID. You need to have a photo ID and proof of residence, but that could include your driver's license or your state ID, or bring a utility bill along with a photo ID. But let's show everyone the power of our vote, because when we vote, we win.
Tune in for their entire conversation today on the Earl Ingram Jr. Show at 5 p.m., along with Donna Brazille live at 5:20, right here on Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Hey, what's happening? Brother, what's up? This is a big party, man. Yeah, I can dig it. Stop. Right on. Hey, man, what's your name?
The big and tall of political talk. Tom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's a Tuesday, Dominic. 2 weeks and a wake up.
Yeah.
And early in-person absentee balloting. It's happening right now in the great state of Wisconsin. Earlier in this fine show, Dom, we played Kamala Harris. Senator Harris currently, soon to be BP Harris, I pray to God. And Harris, during her virtual town hall, was referencing the early voting, the long lines in Milwaukee from earlier today. And I know damn well she's referencing a conversation, an interview she did with our own Earl Ingram, Double Radio 92.7's own. And he's got the exclusive interview. He's going to play it out in the 5 o'clock hour. And one must ponder, Dom, where's Earl now?
Well, he's not voting, Crudy, because that already happened.
I thought he was joining us here on the radio. Maybe he didn't get the memo.
Maybe it was the booker. Maybe it was the booker.
I can verify that he's gotten 2 memos.
Earl, call me.
844-967-2789. Earl will join us shortly. In the meantime, Crudy, we talked about Trump walking out of the 60 Minutes interview.
Yes.
Leslie Stahl apparently also mocking Leslie Stahl, the interviewer, for not wearing a mask, a little mask shaming of all people. I mean, of Donald Trump going and shaming anybody for not wearing a mask. Why wouldn't he say the very same thing to his audience at the rallies?
Mask shaming. At least he wasn't fat shaming Leslie Stahl. Not that that would be feasible. She's rather slight. And he's less so. A stockier fellow.
He's a little more svelte.
Mama Trump probably bought him tough skins. Granimal style? What were those called, Dom? You had a pair.
I don't know.
Corduroys.
Oh. Well, if Mama Trump would still be alive, he'd have her out on the stump as well, because that's apparently the only people he can get to stump for him is his family.
844.
Where's the sister been?
844-967-2789. Let's bring a caller who feels like family. Earl Ingram Jr., welcome to the second best radio show ever.
Hey, Earl.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Better late than never, Earl.
Hey, Earl.
So you've had a busy day, my friend. You started out doing what? You showed up in the line to early vote, man. You didn't nearly enough time, did you, Earl?
No, man. I went and was expecting to get this done in about 5 minutes, and Crudy and Dominic, and I was blown away. I would say 8 blocks long, and that could be an understatement, with people in the first hour at Midtown in the early voting.
And
wow,
Earl. Obviously, you haven't paid attention for the last 4 years, because lots of people, lots of Wisconsinites and lots of Milwaukeeans, they are energized, if not to vote for Biden, certainly to vote against Trump. Earl, did you see any MAGA hats in the line?
Not only did I not see any MAGA hats, but I can honestly tell you guys, I just came back past there, and it is still packed. So I have to assume that it's been going that way ever since 9 o'clock. And again, first opportunity at early voting.
Now, Earl, let me ask you, given, the amount of people and the passion that people have, how is the safety? Were people wearing a mask? How was the social distancing? How was the experience within the polling booth itself?
Everybody was wearing masks. I just interviewed, I don't know, 25 or more people as they were standing in line and as I was walking by. And I can tell you guys that the energy level is sky high in our community. Republicans have been hoping and praying that there wasn't going to be a big turnout. And I can tell you, man, the last time I saw a turnout that size, it was Obama.
Well, I hope, we have a similar outcome And that would be a 2-term Biden presidency. Folks are listening to the Devil's Advocates. That's our pal host, radio host with the most, Earl Ingram Jr. And when I say that, I'm a little envious, Earl. You had an exclusive. You didn't have time to vote because you had to come back and interview the VP nominee, Kamala Harris, on her birthday, Earl.
Yeah, I did, man. To be honest with you, I feel really privileged, man, that number one, this radio station gives me an opportunity to do that. And you know, it didn't have to be, certainly Earl Ingram himself, without the radio station, doesn't amount to a hill of beans. So it is the radio station that they are reaching out to and the listening audience of this radio station. So that's the reason why, and no other reason other than that.
Oh, come on, man. Don't act like you're not a big shot. They didn't call the Devil's Advocates and give us Kamala Harris.
Well, you know, if we're going to talk about whether or not I'm a big shot, then we got to ask my wife if that's so, and she'll correct it immediately.
Well, Allie and my wife could get together and probably tell the world just how full of ourselves us radio hosts
Well,
are.
let me get my wife and kids involved with that as well, and we'll have a party.
But Earl, what struck you about your conversation with Kamala Harris today? I know it was relatively brief, but you know, the she's got a lot of energy and a lot of passion. Tell the people, and you'll play that interview later, I suspect, Earl, but tell the people what they can expect from Harris.
Well, number one, I began my conversation with her, Crudy and Dominic, by letting her know that I had just come back from early voting here in Milwaukee, and I told her of what I witnessed and all of the people who I spoke to, and to a person, both black and white, said that they have to get rid of Donald Trump, and they are out early and they are voting in person because they didn't want to run the risk of losing their votes. And that's exactly what I told her. More than anything else, wished her a happy birthday, but she seemed to really be motivated and excited by the fact that kind of turnout in the black community and a part of the black community was happening.
Now, Earl,
I think go ahead, Crudy.
No, you go. Finish your thought.
Yeah, based on her response, I don't know if she knew or if they knew that kind of response would be forthcoming, and I kind of think that's what it was. They weren't really sure. I don't think anybody knew until what took place.
Well, Earl, have you ever told a story on the radio and then had the good fortune of hearing someone else tell that very same story to a differing audience? Well, you talked about the early voting turnout in Milwaukee earlier today. Kamala Harris did a virtual town hall, a get out the vote rally, and I'm pretty damn sure, Earl, she was referencing your earlier conversation with her when she was talking to the people of Wisconsin. Earl, once again, I'm calling you a big shot. You have influenced the vice presidential nominee.
Well, you know, Crudy, she was a normal person. When I'm having conversations with people, I respect their titles and their positions, but to me, they're human beings. They're people, and so I have conversations with her, like I'm having the conversation with you, and so you know that I think more than anything else it was meant something. She was easy to talk to, man. She certainly almost appeared to say, "We'll be talking again." She enjoyed the conversation as I think as much as I did, and not so much because it was me, Crudy, but because of the news that I brought to them.
Oh, don't get so full of yourself, man. She's running for office, you know.
Come on, man.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Our pal Earl Ingram Jr. is having a hell of a day. Interviewed exclusively the vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris, and that ain't even the only big guest you've got today. Donna Brazille, she was well known to all the Clintonistas out there in the world, and a few of us that were fans of presidential debates as well. Earl, any tough questions coming from you for Donna Brazille later?
Well, yeah, man, Donna Brazille. And I would love to ask her why she made the decision to switch over to Fox News after her time on MSNBC. But
money,
know the reasons for her moving, and that had everything to do, with the fact that she, was accused of having given softball questions and answers to Hillary Clinton during the debate. But I won't waste any time with that. I will certainly ask her what her thoughts were about this election and Donald Trump, because she spends a lot of time on Fox News and other places talking about where things are. So I'm going to spend time talking with her about her thoughts on where this election is headed.
Earl, I know you run with an eclectic crew, and you don't shy away from conversations with liberals or moderates or conservatives. And you have.
Hey, wait a minute, Dominic. You said eclectic. I've got to get my Rosé Thesaurus to see if I can.
But I guess ultimately, man,
if that means what I think it means, but go ahead.
The Republicans have seemingly on the surface and Donald Trump made an effort for outreach for the African Americans, and Donald Trump famously said to the black voters in the last election cycle, "What have you got to lose?" And then we see some of the Republicans, getting involved with the Kanye West thing and all that. So I guess my question to you, my friend, in conversations with some of your Republican friends, and if you have African-American Republican friends, what are they saying? What's their mood? I get a sense that, the left and the Democrats are certainly energized. What are your Republican friends saying, Earl?
Well, they're delusional, man. They somehow think that they know black people better than I know us. And because they believe that there's going to be anywhere from 15 to 20% of black people who are going to vote for Donald Trump. And I don't blame them for having delusions of grandeur, man. And because they know that Donald Trump is in trouble with suburban white women and the elderly. And those are two of the areas that he can least afford to lose. And for them to try to keep a stiff upper lip, they're saying, well, we can get around that through the increased African-American vote and Latino vote. But I'm here to tell you and others that it ain't happening. That's wishful thinking.
So their efforts are falling, at least in your circles and in your environment and the friends that you talk to in this regard. They still think that there is hope for this president. And I tell you, Earl, I'm concerned. I'm hopeful that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will have a route recruiting. I've been talking about this for weeks now. But I'm also very concerned given what happened with the Hillary Clinton campaign and the lack of turnout here specifically in Wisconsin. Do you think that will be overcome this election cycle?
Dominic, I, like you, even in the face of all of my giddiness, understand what we're up against. Any man who's done the things that Donald Trump has done and is implicated in the deaths of over 220,000 people and counting, and all of the misery and unemployment and all of the lies and all of those things, he should be destroyed. But yet this thing is close. So yeah, man, I can't disagree with anything you have to say. I, like others, are hoping and praying for the best, man, because this should be a cakewalk, but it's not. And Democrats understand.
Earl, you got to hold on, man. You know how radio works. We got a break. Tune in the Earl Ingram Show with Kamala Harris, Donna Brazille. I got Earl MB come back, more Devils.
I'm out of it for a little while. Everybody gets delusions of This is Tony with Quality CBD. We are located on Willie Street across from the co-op. At Quality CBD, we are vertically integrated. From soil to oil and seed to sale, we grow, extract, manufacture, and distribute quality CBD oil. We also have contact-free delivery options at qualitycbd.org. Quality CBD. Legal, local, legit.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com. After 4 chaotic years of Donald Trump's presidency, Americans will go to the polls to make their voices heard. Tuesday, November 3rd, special election night coverage. The Devil's Advocates will broadcast live from the heart of Battleground, Wisconsin, beginning at 8 Central Time when the polls close. Dom and crew will host the biggest political party of our lifetimes with updated local races all night, right here on Devil Radio 92.7. Broadcast sponsored by Teamsters Local 200 and the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
The Lazy Oaf Lounge is Madison's East Side place for friends and family. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, you know you're in for a tasty treat. Awesome apps, burgers, pizza, and the best fish fry in Madison. And join us to cheer on the green and gold with 50-cent wings, beer bucket specials, and free Jell-O shots with every Green Bay touchdown. Plenty of TVs inside or out on the patio. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road, and online at lazyoaflounge.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Santita Jackson of the Santita Jackson Show. Every Friday morning at 7 o'clock, let's fix our society by fixing ourselves with the Love Doc, Dr. Brenda Wade on the Santita Jackson Show on 92.7 FM.
Talk radio made for the 99%. Only on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about. Tom and Kreutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. So if you got something to say, pick up the phone right now. Call us up at 844-967-2789.
Want to thank our most recent guest, a friend of ours, a guy I'm a little envious of, Earl Ingram. Earl, go prep for your show. I'll give you 8 minutes.
Well done,
doing
Earl.
It live.
Congratulations. I look forward to listening to the show today.
You know, Earl's not the only guy that can book. Dom, do you know who's coming on this big show tomorrow?
Who?
Senator Chris Coons and Andrew Yang.
The Yang Gang.
I am a little apprehensive. We may be forced to do math on the radio now.
That's never going to happen. But we got Andrew Yang. He'll do the math for us. We ran into him at one of the debates, right? Miami.
Post-debate Miami after the second night, I believe. Yang was on the stage. It was a long-ass affair. He looked tired. We shook his hand back when that was permitted, pre-pandemic.
Right, the good old days.
That was
but
June
we decided,
of 2019.
We decided not to interview him, so we look forward to the first interview with Andrew Yang.
I did seek to get Andrew Yang. I did seek to interview him after the primaries had started. Never quite worked it out in his schedule, Dom, but tomorrow for surezies. Probably.
Right.
Probably. We'll see.
We'll see. A lot of people are talking about a huge show tomorrow as well. I have a feeling it's only going to get better as we get closer to this election.
I'm looking for Jesus to come on this show and endorse Joe Biden between now and Election Day. I'd say it's a coin flip, Dom.
Beer Jesus endorses Joe Biden.
Real quick, Dom, updated story from the great state of Wisconsin, Tony Evers. This one at the Journal Sentinel, Sophie Carson and Meg Jones updated 16 minutes ago. Governor Tony Evers implored residents to take action to turn around a weeks-long surge in coronavirus cases in Wisconsin, or else the economic consequences on businesses would be dire. Here is his quote. If we continue to make excuses for not doing this, we will have more deaths, we will have more people with COVID-19, and frankly, we will have a lot less economic activity in the state of Wisconsin. This is a critical time, folks. I always got to throw folks in there. Evers said in news conference Tuesday, our economy is going to tank, and no one wants that.
Evers' comments come a day after a judge reinstated his order limiting customers in bars and restaurants. A Tavern League lobbyist warned the order would force many businesses to close. And in recent weeks, coronavirus cases, hospitalizations, and deaths have climbed faster and higher than ever with no sign of slowing down. And Dominic, some troubling numbers as the state works through its backlog. The State Department of Health Services reported 33 deaths due to the virus, bringing the death total to 1,633.
Wow.
Those are Wisconsinites.
Holy mackerel, folks.
Yeah.
The state also reported 4,591 new cases. Again, they've been working through a backlog of data, but nearly 4,600 new COVID positives. Dom, that would certainly be the highest number to date. And the average number of new daily cases over the last 7 days was higher than ever. At nearly 3,300 per day, DHS officials have said the 7-day average is the best indicator of current trends because adding in the backlog cases will result in higher than usual daily totals for the next few days. The daily average has nearly doubled in the last month and more than quadrupled in the last 2 months. Back in March and April, we all stayed home to flatten the curve and protect our frontline healthcare workers and hospitals, said Andrea Palm, DHS Secretary Designee. You know, they never confirmed her, Dom. Talking about the Republicans, they haven't done squat, but back to the quote. We're in a much worse place now than we were in March and April. Now is the time for all of us to stay home and do our part. Period.
Crudy, Milwaukee officials see concerning trends while Milwaukee County is not seeing as great an increase in coronavirus cases as elsewhere in Wisconsin. Officials said Tuesday the high number of cases and positivity rates indicates a troubling trend with a total of 35,902 confirmed cases and 454 deaths in Milwaukee County since the pandemic began. There appears to be no end in sight, said Ben Weston, Medical Services Director for Milwaukee County's Office of Emergency Management. The fall and winter surges that we feared seem to be upon us, he said during a call with reporters Tuesday afternoon. The city of Milwaukee's average daily positivity rate is 10.2%, which acting City of Milwaukee Health Department Director Marlena Jackson said is super concerning for us. Jackson cautioned that health departments have seen spikes in coronavirus cases 1 to 2 weeks following holidays, and with Halloween next week followed by Thanksgiving and Christmas, she warned people to make safe decisions about gathering for celebrations and to continue to wear masks and social distance. On Monday, the city opened free coronavirus testing site at Miller Park while closing sites at Umos on the city's south side and Barack Obama Middle School on the north side. Mayor Tom Barrett said 1,658 people were tested at Miller Park in the first day, where some people complained of long lines. Barrett and Jackson attributed long wait times to the first day of operation and new testing staff consisting of city employees and the newly hired. Jackson said some of the 5 lanes were rerouted later in the day to better accommodate people at Miller Park. The mayor said the number tested at Miller Park on the first day was about the same as the numbers tested last Friday at Umos and Obama school sites. He noted there are also 2 other free testing sites at City and the North Side and the South Side Health Centers, where a total of more than 500 were tested on Monday. The mayor's quote, "This is scary stuff, and people are really putting their lives on the line. We're all so tired of this, but we can't turn a blind eye to the growing number of cases."
Dominic, I have a few recommendations for the audience. If they want to stay safe, obviously, Halloween coming up, and it's a big deal, even for the adults. And if you want to stay safe this Halloween, we're throwing you a live Halloween spooktacular party. Our pals, Max Egg Radio, they are partying out, taking requests, live bands, all kinds of fun stuff, virtual contest virtual costume contest, easy for me to say. They're going to have all the big events 6 to midnight on Halloween night. And Dominic, I've got a new virtual costume I plan on wearing to the contest.
Oh, yeah? You going to tell me?
I'm going to go as slutty Jeffrey Toobin. Because I understand, self-love a lot safer during the pandemic.
Especially.
Better to do unto oneself than do unto others.
It's a new saying. I just made it up. Tomorrow on the big show, Delaware Senator Chris Coons, Andrew Yang. He was a presidential candidate, right, Dom?
Yep.
We met him. Thank you, Dr. Abdul El-Syed, for joining us on the show today. Don't forget Kamala Harris with Earl Ingram, Donna Brazille with Earl Ingram. I got Earl Envy. You're going to want to stick around. The biggest show in Devil Radio 92.7 history. It didn't just end. It's just getting started.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
Sit on it now.
I hope. You know what that means, right?
A Bob Hope can sit on it.
It is what it is.
Go to the field and sit on it. Hey! Whoa.
Thursday. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, the final presidential debate live from Belmont University for a Nashville 90, and this time the